Chapter 5987. Everyone, please follow Murlock's official Weibo, account Urin22. Once you've added him, you can chat with Murlock. If you have any suggestions, just leave a message and Murlock will choose the best ones. Also, the latest news about the School Beauty, as well as the School Beauty's manga, movies, and game adaptations, will be sent to everyone through Weibo. There will be exclusive manga characters to share. If you have any suggestions for the story, you can post them on Weibo. There were too many random posts on the forum, and while Murlock would check them out regularly, it was inevitable that there would be a lot of suggestions that couldn't be seen. Weibo was still very convenient. Let me tell you a secret, after a while, Murlock might even choose readers with good suggestions and send them signed books. Chapter 3685, Must Be Broken. Kong Mingming's strength wasn't that great, but Lin Yi wasn't surprised that he was able to get such a high ranking in a tournament like this. After all, Kong Mingming was a refiner, and he was more sensitive to wood elemental herbs than others. With Su Lingchong's help, it would be hard for him not to get first place. Of course, this had nothing to do with Lin Yi, but Lin Yi was glad that Pin Liang was able to get into the top 3. After Blaster Pavilion and Mysterious Pavilion were done, it was finally Blue Cloud Pavilion's turn. However, 4 to 5 people reported their scores, and all of them hovered around 200 to 300 points, completely incomparable to the scores of the newcomers from the other 2 pavilions. The 3 elders' satisfied expressions immediately fell. The Soaring Sky Pavilion and Profound Secrets Pavilion's new disciples burst out laughing without restraint, whereas the bald elder sitting in the middle seat frowned slightly, saying, "Have all the new disciples of Clear Cloud Pavilion fallen to this state? Truly, rotten wood cannot be carved. Looks like we should make a suggestion to the Elder Council. In the future, Clear Cloud Pavilion no longer needs to recruit new disciples, it's purely a waste of resources." The 2 elders on the side also nodded slightly. No matter what, 4 or 5 people in a row only had 200 or 300 points. This kind of result was really terrible. Based on this trend, it was almost certain that they could break the average score record. It was just that other people were trying to break the upper limit, while this group of trash newcomers from Blue Cloud Pavilion was trying to break the lower limit. Although the scores of the people after him were slightly better, they only hovered around 300 to 400 points. They were still incomparable to the scores of the Soaring Sky Pavilion and Mysterious Pavilion's newcomers. It was only when Meng Jueguang reported Meng Tong's points that everyone present was suddenly shocked. Meng Tong, 1,600 points. 1,600 points. What did that mean? It had to be known that even the highest score of the newcomers from the first 2 pavilions was only slightly over 1,200 points. This score was a huge difference. The other 2 pavilions' newcomers were immediately in an uproar. Even the 3 elders sitting at the top were slightly stunned. Moments later, the bald elder nodded and said, "This newcomer is not bad. He's very competitive. He should have snatched quite a number of points from the other newcomers. It can be considered as a fig leaf for Blue Cloud Pavilion." Hearing the bald elder's praise, Meng Tong could not help but proudly raise his chin at Lin Yi, who was at the back of the line. His provocation was obvious. Lin Yi curled his lips with a faint smile, but he did not comment. And after Meng Tong's stunning performance, the other newcomers once again returned to the 300 to 400 point standard. Besides being ridiculed, it also served as a foil to Meng Tong's rarity. Just as the bald elder had said, this newcomer was very competitive. Among the group of trash rookies from Blue Cloud Pavilion, he was like a crane in a flock of chickens. Xiao Ran, 1,023 points. After seeing Xiao Ran's points, senior brother Ku was clearly overjoyed. This result was much better than what he expected, where they would all be wiped out. As for Meng Jueguang, he was somewhat stunned. After he reacted, he immediately glared at Meng Tong in dissatisfaction. It had to be known that he had spent quite a bit of effort in order to silence Lin Yi and company in the trial. Not only did he prepare a wood elemental sensor for Meng Tong to ensure his first place, he had also specially mobilized the rookies, so that they would listen to Meng Tong's instructions in the trial. Logically speaking, with Meng Tong leading so many people to deal with Lin Yi and company, as long as there were no major problems, it should have been a simple matter to silence Lin Yi and company. But now, before the most crucial Lin Yi's turn, Xiao Ran's side had already burst out with more than 1,000 points, reserving a spot in the top 3 in advance. He can't even handle such a small matter. What a piece of trash. Meng Jueguang turned his head and scolded softly. Ninth cousin, you really can't blame me for this. There's really a reason for this. I'll explain it to you in detail later. Meng Tong scratched his head awkwardly as he defended himself. There's a reason for this? I want to hear what kind of excuse you are using, kid. Meng Jueguang did not believe that with such a huge difference in strength, there was any reason that could explain his failure. However, it was not convenient for him to speak in this situation, so he could only let Meng Tong off for the time being. Afterward, he would settle the score with this fellow who could not do anything but spoil things. Xiao Hongkai, 500 points. Meng Jueguang's face turned even uglier. Although 500 points was not considered high, with so many new disciples in the Clear Cloud Pavilion, the average score was around 300 to 400 points. It was considered a rare high score. He no longer held any hope of silencing Lin Yi and company. The only thing he was thankful for was that he had prepared a wood elemental sensor for Meng Tong. At least, he would not lose his first place. After all, a high score of 1,600 points was impossible for ordinary rookies to achieve unless they plunder from other rookies or simply cheat. However, when it was finally Lin Yi's turn, Meng Jueguang was dumbfounded when he saw the number displayed on the basket. He could not react for a long time. Oh. Jueguang, why are you standing there in a daze? Hurry up and report it. Hu Yinfeng glared at Meng Jueguang in dissatisfaction. Lin Yi was already the last one. Everyone, including the 3 elders, was waiting. Oh, okay. Meng Jueguang snapped out of his daze and rubbed his eyes in disbelief. When he realized that it was still the same number, he reported in disbelief, Lin Yi, 1,800 points, 1,800 points. The audience instantly went crazy. Meng Tong's 1,600 points had already shocked them. They never expected that there would be an even more impressive result. Holy sh*t. How is that possible? Meng Tong, who was confident in his victory, was immediately dumbfounded. He was already prepared to celebrate first place. The idiot Lin Yi had clearly given Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai a total of 1,000 points. How could he still have 1,800 points? Ninth cousin must have seen wrongly. It should have been 800 points. However, when he rushed over to take a look, it clearly showed that it was 1,800 points. This basket must be spoiled, right? Meng Tong stammered as he said to the similarly incredulous Meng Jueguang. The 1,000 points that Lin Yi had snatched had all been given to Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai. That also meant that his remaining points had been gathered by him personally. After all, Lin Yi was not like Meng Tong, who had a cheating device like the wood elemental sensor. How could he gather a terrifying number like 1,800 points by himself? There was only one possible explanation. It had to be that the basket was spoiled. Chapter 5988. All right. You're a man, but when the time comes, this stupid pig will be beaten to death. You're asking for it. Meng Tong laughed coldly as if his scheme had succeeded. Among all the Clear Cloud Pavilion's new disciples, the last one to arrive was Murongzhen. None of the new disciples were dissatisfied with this arrangement. After all, women always had their own privileges at times like this. Not to mention, Murongzhen was an alluring and powerful beauty. When they saw the spiritual pet fluttering beside Murongzhen, everyone's eyes lit up. Even as men, they could not help but sigh at the sight of it. What a dazzling and dreamy butterfly. When it spread its wings, the size of this butterfly could be said to be astonishingly large. Its body was 3 m long and its wings had a wingspan of 15 m. Its dazzling wings were dotted with specks of sparkling and translucent blue light. At first glance, it was like a magnificent screen that would enchant one's heart. Butterfly Empress, show them how charming you are. Murongzhen ordered with a proud smile. As soon as she finished speaking, the giant butterfly, which she called the Butterfly Queen, flew into the air. With a slight flap of its wings, blue light scattered down. It was dreamy, like a fairy. Be careful, there's something wrong with these scale pollen. Lin Yi reminded her softly. Then, he brought Xiao Ran and the rest out of the range of the blue light. However, the other newcomers were not as vigilant as him. They were still immersed in the beauty of the Butterfly Queen, unable to extricate themselves. After a while, Meng Jueguang, who was the strongest among them, finally realized that something was wrong. He suddenly realized that his limbs were not listening to him. During the month that the newcomers were busy subduing the spiritual pets, he had successfully broken through and was now an expert in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm. His level was far above everyone else's. As for Murongzhen's Butterfly Queen, although it looked dazzling and dreamy, its strength was only in the middle stage of the heaven stage. With the disparity between them, logically speaking, it should not affect Meng Jueguang at all. However, at this moment, Meng Jueguang's limbs were indeed numb. Even if he could barely move, it was extremely strenuous and slow. As for the other rookies who were much weaker, they could not move at all. Seeing everyone struggle in vain, yet unable to move, Xiao Ran, Xiao Hongkai, and the rest looked at each other. They looked at Murongzhen and the Butterfly Queen with fear. This fellow was not to be underestimated. Murongzhen, what are you trying to do? Meng Jueguang felt that he had lost face after being tricked along with the rookies under the watchful eyes of everyone. He immediately berated with a sullen expression. Murongzhen covered her mouth and giggled after admiring the horrified expressions on the newcomers' faces. Senior brother Meng, don't worry. This is just a little joke that I'm playing with everyone. The paralysis effect will disappear automatically within 2 hours, and there won't be any side effects. Don't worry, everyone. Hearing that, the newcomers heaved a sigh of relief. However, Meng Tong said anxiously, then what do we do for 2 hours? We can't move at all. Why are we having a spiritual pet battle? He had been looking forward to this day for a long time. He was hoping that the Black Rod Ape would go on a rampage and help him raise his morale. In the end, he was paralyzed to the point that he could not even move. What was there to be proud of? Since it's a spiritual pet battle, it's not like you're the one fighting. Does it matter if you can move or not? Murongzhen looked at him mockingly. She pointed at the surroundings and said, didn't you see that your spiritual pets have already escaped? They are not affected, so why can't you have a spiritual pet battle? Meng Tong was stunned and he was speechless. Regardless of the spiritual pet's abilities, they had long sensed that something was wrong. Just like Lin Yi and company, they quickly retreated to the side. Only their masters were left standing there in a daze. Now that they had been affected, who else could they blame but themselves for being stupid? If someone else were to tease him like that, Meng Jueguang might have taught them a good lesson. It was a way to establish his authority when he was promoted to the position of third pavilion master. However, the other party was Murongzhen. She was a capable helper that he would have to rely on in the future. Furthermore, he was her guest, so he could only turn a blind eye and pretend to be magnanimous and tolerant. Since Meng Jueguang did not say a word, the other newcomers naturally did not dare to say anything. Although Meng Tong did not have much of a brain, other than drooling over Murongzhen, he was actually quite afraid of her. Hence, even when the referee arrived, everyone still looked as though they were paralyzed and unable to move. The spiritual pet battle had begun in such a strange atmosphere. As mentioned before, the final points of this spiritual beast assessment were composed of 2 parts. One was the spiritual beast's level, and the other was the spiritual beast's strength. The spiritual beast's level was clear at a glance, and the points could be calculated directly. As for the spiritual beast's strength, it would be won through a single round of elimination battles. It was entirely dependent on the spiritual pet's own performance. Although such a rule setting seemed fair and reasonable at first glance, strictly speaking, there were still some drawbacks and shortcomings. After all, not all spiritual pets were combat-type spiritual pets. For example, a spiritual pet like Lin Yi's Sky Thunder Pig was purely trash in terms of combat power. However, its unique treasure hunting characteristic determined its value to be far beyond that of ordinary combat-type spiritual pets. Just like Li Jingming's ghost tiger, it was an existence with strategic value. Such a strategic spiritual pet, according to the rules of the spiritual pet battle, was almost impossible to obtain high points. This was actually a very unfair thing. However, since the higher-ups had already given such rules, even if it was not fair, there was not much to criticize. Even if one was dissatisfied, one could only hold it in. After all, this was a world where the strong were respected. So what if one was a strategic spiritual pet? If one's fist was not as hard as the other person's, then one deserved to be unlucky and cry in one's own grave. Under the supervision of the referee, the newcomers went forward to draw lots to determine their opponents. Apart from Lin Yi and a few others, the others walked like zombies. Fortunately, they could still move, so they did not embarrass themselves. A1. Lin Yi looked at the number on the wooden lot and searched among the crowd. Finally, he locked onto a newcomer and his lips curled into a smile. At the same time, the newcomer looked at Lin Yi's side and held the A2 tag in his hand. This newcomer was the publicly recognized weakest, Cha Wu. Chapter 5990. 1 second to remember, for you to provide high speed. In such a short period of time, they were actually able to deduce and create a martial technique out of thin air. Although it was only a single move, it was a martial technique that was tailor-made for the two of them. Not to mention creating it, ordinary people would not even dare to think about it. However, not only was Lin Yi able to create it out of thin air, this frenzied 8 trigrams combined palm strike did not have the slightest trace of being pieced together at the last minute. Instead, it had a profound foundation. The exquisiteness of it was not inferior to some traditional martial skills that had been passed down for hundreds or even thousands of years. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, Huang Xiaotao wouldn't have believed that Lin Yi had created this martial technique in such a short amount of time. Not only could he increase the strength of others, but he could also refine a golden core. Now, he could even create a martial technique. She admired and worshipped Lin Yi even more. At this moment, Huang Xiaotao was truly dumbfounded. There was actually such a powerful person in this world. Even the legendary miracle Dr. Zhang Liju couldn't compare to him, right? In fact, she might not even be as good as Lin Yi. After all, the legend of Master Zhang had only been passed down by word of mouth. As for Lin Yi's miracles, she had seen it with her own eyes. For the rest of the time, Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao stayed in the cave and practiced the newly created Frenzy 8 trigrams palm strike in seclusion. Although it was a new creation, it was very easy for Lin Yi to master it. Huang Xiaotao was getting better and better at it, and her cooperation with Lin Yi was also getting better and better. When Lin Yi felt that it was almost ready, the two of them tried to launch a move together. Its power was actually comparable to the peak of Gold Core Realm. If it weren't for Lin Yi's deliberate control, the power of this move would even be enough to pierce through the restriction and walls of his cultivation abode. Huang Xiaotao herself was stunned, while Lin Yi nodded his head in satisfaction. He certainly had confidence in the martial arts technique he had created, but in the beginning, he only aimed for the power of the late Gold Core Realm. He did not expect that he had underestimated the power of this joint attack. A frenzied fire 8 trigrams palm strike. The power was equivalent to the full blow of a master at the peak of the late stage of the Gold Core Realm, and the two of them were only at the early stage of the Gold Core Realm. Such a martial arts technique was simply heaven-defying. If the two of them could increase their strength a little more, they would truly be invincible in the Golden Core stage. If they went out in the future with Huang Xiaotao, they could directly launch a joint attack on anyone they didn't like. Any Golden Core stage expert would be crippled even if they didn't die. Soaring Sky Pavilion. After returning from Lin Yi's cave abode, Su Lingchong and Meng Tong were not reconciled at all. They did not intend to let Lin Yi off so easily. It was inappropriate for them to continue staying there, so they specifically instructed Murongzhen to keep an eye on Lin Yi's immortal's cave. Once she saw Lin Yi or Shangguan Laner coming out, she should immediately report to them. However, the two of them did not expect that they did not have to wait for Murongzhen's news at all. As soon as they returned to the Soaring Sky Pavilion's territory, they saw Shanghai Laner. The two of them were stunned on the spot and scratched their heads at the same time. What the hell was going on? Why was the woman on Lin Yi's bed not Shangguan Laner? There were only a few female cultivators in the three pavilions. Apart from Shanghai Laner, who else would hook up with Lin Yi? When Shanghai Laner saw the two of them, she turned her head in disgust. She pretended not to see them and was about to walk past them. At this time, Su Lingchong suddenly grinned. He took the initiative to walk up to her. Junior sister Lan, I haven't seen you for a long time. How have you been recently? Su Lingchong greeted her with a smile. It's nothing. Senior brother Su, why are you looking for me? Shanghai Laner's eyelids suddenly twitched. This guy had not bothered her for a long time. Why did he stick to her like a piece of sticky candy today? He was so annoying. As Shanghai Laner spoke, the little curly bear next to her dragged the big scissors from before and swaggered in the direction of Su Lingchong, cutting wildly. Those who were a little timid would probably be frightened by this little guy. Especially Su Lingchong. Last time, it was this giant scissors that cut off his family jewels. Now, this scene was simply like sprinkling salt on his wounds. That was not enough. He had to add a little cumin. Even Shangguan Lan, was startled by this scene. She didn't expect that the little fellow would dare to provoke her. She quickly stepped forward and shielded it behind her. If Su Lingchong became angry out of humiliation and wanted to kill the little curly bear, she wouldn't be able to stop him with her strength. However, to the great surprise of Shanghai Laner, Su Lingchong was not angry. Instead, he smiled indifferently, as if he did not take it to heart at all. If there is something, then there is really something. I think it is necessary to let junior sister Lan know. You should be mentally prepared first. Su Lingchong pretended to be mysterious. Oh. What's the matter? Shanghai Laner frowned and looked at him. She thought to herself, this annoying guy, what tricks does he want to play? I just returned from Lin Yi's abode, and I found a woman on his bed. She had even taken off her clothes. Sigh. Su Lingchong pretended to be regretful as he shook his head. But junior sister Lan, don't be anxious. Some men like to fool around as long as they have a bit of strength. It's human nature. Lin Yi is a man as well, and he has needs in this aspect as well. The reason why Su Lingchong deliberately told Shanghai Laner about this matter was none other than to create trouble for Lin Yi. Since the woman in his abode wasn't Shanghai Laner, then he would use this matter to sow discord and let Shanghai Laner cause trouble herself. At that time, Lin Yi would surely be unable to take care of himself, and even if he participated in the inner court competition, his condition would surely be greatly reduced. Truthfully speaking, although Su Lingchong was an intermediate stage Golden Core realm expert now, and he was proud of his success and had made a strong return, but at least he had learned his lesson, and he didn't dare look down on Lin Yi. Now that he was dual cultivating with Meng Tong, he would surely be invincible in a dual fight, and there was no doubt about this. However, if it was a one-on-one fight with Lin Yi, even though he still had the certainty of winning, he still had to be careful. After all, no matter what, Lin Yi had instantly killed Su Zhaohe, who was an intermediate stage Golden Core realm expert, with a single move. Su Zhaohe wasn't a simple figure, and if they were at the same level, Su Lingchong admitted that he might not be able to win for sure. Thus, it could be seen that Lin Yi was similarly extraordinary, and he had to be on guard. So, with this opportunity to discuss Lin Yi, Su Lingchong naturally wanted to make use of it. If he was able to make Shanghai Laner fall out with him directly, or even turn them into enemies, then it couldn't be any better. Even if he couldn't do that, he could at least distract Lin Yi, so why not? Really? That's great. Shanghai Laner's reaction greatly exceeded his expectations, and not only did she not have the slightest intention of getting angry, she was instead extremely happy. To be continued. Chapter 5991. Of course, the reason why Shanghai Tianhua dared to say something like that to Wait wasn't purely because he believed in Lin Yi's strength. Even if Lin Yi really didn't have the slightest ability to resist, with his strength, wanting to save Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao was merely a matter of a thought, and there wouldn't be any mishaps. However, in the next moment, Shanghai Tianhua was suddenly slightly shocked, as the situation on the stage suddenly changed. Bang! Under the ninth heaven Poison Dragon Whip's shadow that covered the sky and covered the earth, two balls of crimson-red flames suddenly erupted, and the ninth heaven Poison Dragon Whip that Su Lingchong was so proud of was actually broken on the spot. Its power was so shocking that it was simply shocking. Amidst the exclamations of surprise, the crowd of Golden Core stage experts below the stage finally recognized these two balls of crimson-red flames clearly. Shockingly, they were actually two fire palm shadows, one small and one large, and in the middle, there was a vague shape of the 8 trigrams. They split into two directions and whizzed out respectively, the small one striking towards Meng Tong, and the large one going straight for Su Lingchong. At this moment, Su Lingchong and Meng Tong were still immersed in a state of disbelief and astonishment. Before the two of them could react, they heard two bangs accompanied by the muffled sounds of bones breaking. After that, they were like two kites with their strings cut as they were directly thrown off the ring, and they didn't even have the slightest room to retaliate. The frenzy 8 trigrams palm strike that was created at the last minute actually had such a formidable might. The sound of gasping instantly resounded throughout the audience, and everyone looked at each other in dismay, unable to say a word for a long time. Compared to sending the two of them flying with a single move, what was even more shocking was the injuries on their bodies. Meng Tong's situation was still alright, because the main attacker was Huang Xiaotao. Although it was the same frenzy 8 trigrams palm strike that came from the same source, its might was obviously much weaker, so although Meng Tong was in a sorry state, his injuries weren't considered to be too heavy. The one who was truly miserable was Su Lingchong. The frenzy 8 trigrams palm strike that struck his body came from Lin Yi, and in terms of might, it was at least at the peak of the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. Moreover, it was struck right in the chest, and this young Master Su, who was insufferably arrogant after his powerful return, directly fell to the ground at this moment with bulging eyes, and his breathing was more than it was exhaling. Obviously, he wasn't going to make it. Charge! Meng Tong instantly roared in grief and indignation when he saw this, and he couldn't care about his own injuries as he frantically rushed to the side of Su Lingchong who was on the verge of death. At the same time, a figure suddenly followed closely. It was the person in charge of the inner court competition, Su Yuanzheng. After Su Yuanzheng checked Su Lingchong's condition, he anxiously instructed, "He's still on his last breath. Bring him for treatment." As anxious as he was the host of the inner disciple competition. No matter what, he could not be absent from the competition. Thus, he could only allow Meng Tong to bring him away for the time being. Meng Tong hurriedly nodded. He couldn't be bothered to look at Lin Yi on the stage anymore. Enduring the pain, he picked up Su Lingchong, who was on the ground, and walked out. The 3 great pavilions had specialized infirmaries where doctors gathered. Moreover, no matter who it was, they would try their best to save Su Lingchong on account of Su Yuanzheng. Although Su Lingchong's condition was very weak at the moment, he might still have a chance of survival. However, just as he carried Su Lingchong out of the north arena and reached a secluded area, the mysterious man in black suddenly appeared in front of him. After a gust of wind blew, the mysterious man in black, together with Meng Tong and Su Lingchong, disappeared without a trace. At this moment, on the arena, after being stunned for a long time, the referee finally announced the victory of Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao. Everyone below the arena looked at Lin Yi with a completely different gaze than before. This Lin Yi is really King amazing. Someone's mouth twitched as he discussed. Nonsense, what kind of eyesight do you have? You only noticed now? I already knew that this human king is amazing. Previously, in the single battle finals, he deliberately admitted defeat. I could tell at a glance. That's right, I reckon that he simply disdains fighting Su Lingchong one-on-one and is preparing to save it for the double battle. It's just nice to settle it at the same time and save time. That seems to be the case. Wait a minute. Didn't the two of you say that before? Didn't you say that Lin Yi can't possibly be Su Lingchong's opponent? Why did it change now? Grandpa, look at junior brother and senior sister Xiao Tao, aren't they amazing? Their combined palm strike is an ultimate move that I practiced with them a few days ago. The worry on Shanghai Laner's face had long disappeared completely. While she was happy for Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao, she praised Shanghai Tianhua. Hee, little Lon, you just went over to watch them practice, right? Shanghai Tianhua teased with a smile. That's still at the same time. There's also my contribution. Shanghai Laner cutely stuck out her tongue. Shanghai Tianhua immediately burst into laughter and lightly patted Shanghai Laner's head. The gaze that he looked at Lin Yi in the distance was obviously a little more appreciative than before. Honestly speaking, even he didn't expect that Lin Yi's counterattack would actually come so swiftly and intensely. He obviously only had the strength of an early-stage gold core cultivator, but he was actually able to kill the insufferably arrogant Su Lingchong with a single move. This kind of performance was really shocking. If it was said that Su Lingchong was just an ordinary middle-stage gold core expert, then it would still be fine. The problem was that he was also an expert of the gold core stage who had a perfect breakthrough. Both of them were experts of the perfect gold core stage. This sudden counterattack of Lin Yi really made everyone understand one thing with his actual action. Even among geniuses, there were different levels. Su Lingchong and Meng Tong were originally the pair with the highest chance of winning the double battle. In the end, they were killed by Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao with a single move. The double battle after that simply became the stage for the two of them. No matter what kind of opponent they faced, from the beginning to the end, they were killed with a single move. There was no change to speak of. From the beginning to the end, it was the frenzied 8 trigrams palm strike. By the final stage, everyone present could even figure out the moves of the two of them. However, even so, it didn't change the situation at all. It was just the frenzied 8 trigrams palm strike. Even if they could see the moves clearly, so what? From the beginning to the end, it was still the same. This was the absolute difference in strength. Along the way, Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao gave everyone a good demonstration of what it meant to be an enemy of the gold core stage. There were a few opponents who, when faced with such a tyrannical pair, did not even have the slightest bit of fighting spirit. As soon as they came up, they hurriedly opened their mouths to admit defeat. In any case, the enemies of the Lin Yi pair were obvious to all. Even if they admitted defeat, it wouldn't be shameful. Moreover, they could also avoid getting injured, so there was no need to stubbornly persist. It was worth mentioning that this included the pair of Yu Zhe and Nan Tianba. Even in their dreams, the two of them wanted to step on Lin Yi. However, the situation was stronger than they were. Even Su Lingchong had been beaten to death. If they still didn't have eyes and came up, wouldn't that be courting death? Chapter 5992. Show_read, however, at this moment, looking at the people on the high platform, feeling their undisguised majestic aura, Lin Yi actually felt the same feeling as when he was in the back mountain hall. Among the more than 30 people on the stage, the masters of the Yuanying stage were only the lowest level of existence. Among them, there were many masters of the profound ascending stage who were above the Yuanying stage. These people came from the same academy. The East Continent was known as the strongest existence on the Heaven Stage Island, and it really lived up to its reputation. There were really hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Lin Yi had been on the Heaven Stage Island for more than a year, and he had seen a lot of super masters, but compared with the masters of the profound ascending stage on the stage, there was still a considerable gap. Among the people he knew and came into contact with, there were only 2.5 people who could really compare with them, or could steadily suppress the other side. One of them was the Will of Heaven. Although his strength was only at the peak of the Yuanying stage, he was like himself, a freak who could easily kill those who were at a higher level. Not long after he recovered from his injury, he easily defeated the Southern Sky Aurora in the early stage of the profound ascending stage. He could not be judged by common sense. Even among the masters of the profound ascending stage, he should be quite a powerful existence. The other one was the master of the Soaring Sky Pavilion, Shanghai Tianhua, the top boss of the 3 pavilions in the North Island. Although Lin Yi had never seen him fight, or even seen him show his aura, his intuition told Lin Yi that with the strength of Shanghai Tianhua, even if he was placed on the high platform, he should be one of the best. As for the remaining half, it was the ghostly thing that was now lodged in the space of the jade pendant. Lin Yi had never seen the strength of this guy, but the other party was also the top elder of the Spirit Beast clan. He was also regarded as the top existence of the Spirit Beast clan. His peak state should not be inferior to these people. Otherwise, if even he could not match him, the Spirit Beast clan would have been wiped out by human forces long ago, and would not have survived until now. However, this damn thing was only a broken primordial spirit, so no matter how powerful it was in the past, it could only be considered half a primordial spirit now. In addition to these 2.5, among the people that Lin Yi knew, there was no one who could compete with these mysterious ascending stage masters. After all, any mysterious ascending stage master, even if placed in Middle Island, was already a top master, and not some common trash that could be seen everywhere. And now, on the high platform, there were no less than 7 profound ascending stage masters, and this was not the most exaggerated. What really made Lin Yi's eyelids twitch was the 3 people sitting in the middle. Their aura was far more majestic and profound than the group of mysterious ascending stage masters. In other words, these 3 people were transcendent existences above the profound ascension stage. As for what realm was above the profound ascension stage, Lin Yi had never even heard of it. Lin Yi was secretly shocked. It was no wonder that so many people yearned for the East Continent. They all wanted to be selected by this Golden Morning Star Cultivator Academy, as there was a super expert above the profound ascension stage overseeing it. This was simply a living signboard. Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao looked at each other, and could not continue forward. They could only follow the rules of the crowd and sit down at the back of the crowd. Since they had nowhere else to go, they might as well join in the fun and listen to the discussions of the people around them. Dean Ling Yuanqing actually came in person this year? As expected. Just as Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao sat down, they heard a man wearing a yellow hat exclaim in the front row. That's impossible, right? No matter how important this enrollment is, as a dignified dean. It's impossible for him to come in person, right? Did you make a mistake? Someone next to him immediately questioned. Mistake? Do you think I'm blind? Do you think I'll talk nonsense about this kind of thing? There, look at the old man in the middle wearing a white school robe. He's Dean Ling Yuanqing. The man in the yellow hat said with certainty. Lin Yi looked over without batting an eyelid. The old man that this man was pointing at was one of the 3 people that he was paying attention to, a transcendent existence that was above the profound ascension stage. His aura does seem like it, but he could also be a vice dean or something. I heard that the vice deans of the Yellow Morning Star Cultivator Academy are all monsters with incredible strength, not much weaker than the dean himself. The people next to him still did not completely believe him. What do you know? The one in the middle is Dean Ling Yuanqing, there's no doubt about that. As for the vice dean you mentioned, do you see the 2 sitting next to him? Those are the real vice deans. The man in the yellow hat said with a look of disdain. The 2 vice deans he was referring to were the 2 super experts above the profound ascension stage other than the old man in the middle. Lin Yi nodded inwardly. It seemed that the man in the yellow hat was right. Even if it was the legendary Yellow Morning Star Cultivator Academy in the East Continent, with such strength, if they could not even become vice deans, it would be too shocking. Good, good, good. You're very knowledgeable, all right? Speaking of which, Dean Ling Yuanqing and the two vice deans beside him are all very secretive. How do you know them so well? That's right, you've never been to the East Continent. How can you recognize these experts? That's right, if you're talking about the two vice deans, it's fine if you can recognize them. It's not strange for them to show up during the recruitment, but this Dean Ling Yuanqing you mentioned, he's never appeared before, right? Could it be that you've seen him before? The people beside him asked curiously. It was not their first time participating in the East Continent Academy selection. They had heard of legendary figures like Dean Ling Yuanqing, but they had never seen him before. It was impossible for them to be as confident as the man in the yellow hat. Hee, you don't understand. Of course, I've never seen such an important figure before. But have you guys forgotten? I have a cousin who is an expert in the pugilistic world. I was fortunate enough to see the portraits of some mountain opening stage experts in the East Continent, and one of them was this Dean Ling Yuanqing. The man in the yellow hat boasted proudly to the crowd. Oh, you're talking about that distant cousin of yours who's known as the pugilistic world's inquisitor. No wonder, it's not surprising that he knows these important figures. When everyone heard this, they finally came to a realization. It seemed that this inquisitive cousin was also an extremely famous person. Now, you should believe me, right? But come to think of it, the Academy selection is such a sensational event, there's no reason for my cousin to not come and join in the fun. Why don't I see him this time? The man in the yellow hat continued to be proud of himself while feeling a little puzzled. Summon the monthly votes for the mobile reading. Mobile readers can vote. If you enter the top 10, there will be a reward. Everyone, please support the merfolk. To be continued. Chapter 5993. As he spoke, Qing Haonan and Wu Baoyang stared at Lin Yi maliciously, as if they wanted to skin him alive. Lin Yi glanced at the two. He was not interested in Long Kiba, but he had to get rid of the other two before he left South Continent. Especially when he saw the latter, he could not help but be slightly startled. He was the target of his trip. Lin Yi had seen Wu Baoyang's portrait on the wanted order from the law enforcement hall. Although it was his first time seeing him in person, he could recognize him at a glance with his iconic triangular yin-yang eyes. Lin Yi had known for a long time that Wu Baoyang would also participate in the South Continent Escort Agency's event, and he had been paying attention. Unfortunately, from yesterday until now, he had seen Long Kiba and Qing Haonan, but he hadn't seen Wu Baoyang. Perhaps Wu Baoyang was regarded as their last trump card, so he stayed in the inn and did not come out at all. But now, he probably saw an opportunity, so he was pulled over at the last minute. This guy is finally willing to come out. Lin Yi sneered in his heart and secretly clenched his fists. After holding it in for so long, he could not help but have some killing intent, but in the end, he did not act rashly. Young hero Ling, you decide. Qi Mingyuan looked at Lin Yi. He did not know how Lin Yi did it. He was afraid that it would ruin the plan, so he did not dare to make a decision. Since someone wants to give us points, of course the more the merrier. Lin Yi smiled faintly, not minding it. Such arrogance. Then I'll let you open your eyes and see. Who is giving who points? Long Kiba waved his hand and said to Qing Haonan and Wu Baoyang, you two, let's go in and see what this kid is up to. After saying that, Long Kiba went straight to Area 30 with his men. There were not many people, only him, Qing Haonan, and Wu Baoyang. Although they were not part of the robbers, they had caused such a big commotion just now. He had already heard everything that was going on inside. It was useless to bring too many people. Wu Baoyang alone was enough. The three of them walked into Area 30. At this moment, this small area that was surrounded by darkness was already a mess. The small cargo ship had been dismantled into pieces of broken wooden planks, floating on the surface of the sea. Even the surrounding reefs had been cut into pieces by Jinqi. Moreover, the seawater was muddy. It was obvious that the bottom of the sea had been stepped on by someone, and the sand and mud underneath had all been turned over. Hee hee. What a thorough search. Long Kiba sneered. If it was anyone else who saw the scene, they wouldn't be able to escape. His heart skipped a beat because if even this could not be found, it meant that it would be difficult to find. However, he was not worried at all. Counselor, it's up to you now. The reason why he called Wu Baoyang over at the last minute was because Qing Haonan had said that this military advisor had an ultimate move. It was easy to use it to find things in this kind of competition. It's a piece of cake. Wu Baoyang's aura suddenly erupted. At first glance, it seemed that he was only at the great perfection of the gold core realm. However, immediately after that, the sky and earth within Area 30 suddenly spun. Everything in the area, including seawater, sand, and broken wood, flew into the air as if they had suddenly lost the shackles of gravity. The entire area then became a weightless world. Immediately after, Wu Baoyang slowly clenched his open palms. Everything in the air instantly went berserk and violently collided with each other. Originally, it was only fragmented, but after the collision, it became even more fragmented and even powder. The military advisor is indeed an expert. I've never seen or heard of such a marvelous technique before. Long Kiba suddenly had an eye-opener. If they really fought, although his strength was not weak, it was limited to direct fighting and killing. He did not have such a powerful and magical technique like Wu Baoyang. It's just a piece of cake. This technique is called all things kill. Anything with a weaker quality will eventually be crushed into powder by something with a stronger quality. The treasure chest is made of special dark steel. If I'm not mistaken, its quality should be the toughest. So, after the all things kill is over, the treasure chest will be the last thing left. Wu Baoyang smiled mysteriously. In front of the military advisor's all things kill, including the array, everything will be destroyed. Any concealment method will be ineffective. As long as it is hidden here, it will definitely be revealed. Qing Haonan added. With his relationship with Wu Baoyang, he was clear about these methods. Ha 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 ha, then I'll wait to celebrate for you. After this round of competition, my Dragon Boat Escort Agency will jump to second place in the scoreboard and surpass the Heavens Equal Escort Agency. Long Kiba laughed proudly. That's expected. It will happen soon. Wu Baoyang's triangular yin-yang eye revealed a hint of pride as he commented, however, this Ling Yi is quite skilled. He was able to hide the package so well that normal methods wouldn't be able to find it. No wonder Boundless Sea and the others suffered. Hee hee, isn't this just a small trick in front of the military advisor? The Heavens Equal Escort Agency only knows how to play tricks. They will never be able to show their strength. This time, let them have a taste of kicking an iron plate. Qing Haonan laughed coldly. While the three of them were chatting, the all things kill hanging in the air finally ended. Anything with a slightly weaker quality had already lost its shape. Even the reefs and rocks had been crushed into powder. The pure shall rise, the corrupted shall fall. Under Wu Baoyang's control, the all things kill hanging in the air slowly separated into two layers. Everything that was slightly lighter floated up, and everything that was slightly heavier sank down. During this separation process, anything that had a shape could be clearly seen. The treasure chest had to be among them. Long Kiba, Qing Haonan, and Wu Baoyang all stared at this scene with wide eyes, hoping to find the treasure chest that they had expected. However, even after the separation, there was nothing. This. Wu Baoyang was speechless for a long time. Long Kiba and Qing Haonan were dumbfounded at the same time. Just a moment ago, they had the demeanor of an expert, and they were so confident and calm. In the end, they still couldn't find the treasure chest. Wasn't this a joke? Military advisor, what should we do now? Long Kiba was completely flustered. Because they didn't get a single point in the second round, the Dragon Boat Escort Agency only got a total of 160 points in the first 3 rounds. Even if they included this round, they would only get 50 points in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. That would only add up to 210 points. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. Chapter 5994. But good steel should be used on the blade's edge. Lin Yi didn't plan on using the fruit right now. After all, it was a treasure that was hard to find in this world, and he might not be able to find it again in this lifetime. He had to save it for the most crucial moment. At present, Lin Yi felt that it was not the most critical moment yet. He had a faint hunch that even if he did not use the myriad golden Dan fruit, he had a chance to break through to the late stage of gold core. Because every time he was tempered by the aftermath of the 5 elements murderous aura, he could clearly feel the throbbing sign that he was about to break through. However, what made Lin Yi feel a little pity was that although the sign was very obvious and strong, he did not really break through after every time he endured the aftermath. It just remained at the level of the sign. It seemed that he could not break through successfully. Lin Yi knew that this state of eagerness to break through would not last long. If he could not successfully break through before it disappeared, he would have to wait for the next sign to appear. Then, he did not know when. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. There were many examples of people who could not break through when it was time to break through, and thus fell into a quagmire. Fortune comes from risk. It seems that you have to take a little risk. The ghost suggested. Understood. Lin Yi nodded. Although he had always been cautious, he would never refuse some necessary risks. Just like now, there were only 2 ways for him to take advantage of the situation to break through. The first was to take the golden Dan fruit. However, he did not plan to do so, so he could only use the second method, which was to use the ready-made 5 elements murderous aura to force out his greater potential. If it was someone else, they would definitely not dare to do this, but Lin Yi could. Since he could withstand the aftermath of the 5 elements murderous aura, he could naturally go further and try to get closer to the 5 elements murderous aura. Of course, the premise was that he had to master this degree, otherwise it would not be called stimulating his potential. It would be courting death. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi changed to a cylindrical platform next to him. When he stood on it, he could only reach the 5 poisons swamp above his head, but now he directly entered the swamp. Sure enough, Lin Yi was immediately targeted by the 5 elements murderous aura. If the 5 poisons swamp above him was a pond, and the 5 elements murderous aura were piranhas, then Lin Yi was a living bait. When he stood on the previous platform, Lin Yi, the bait, was still hanging above the water. That was why the piranhas weren't aroused. At most, they were splashed a little. But now, the bait was directly thrown into the pond, and the piranhas immediately revealed their ferocious nature. Perhaps it was because of Lin Yi's elemental attribute, to a certain extent, he had the same smell as the 5 elements, so the 5 elements didn't gather around him. Otherwise, Lin Yi would have died even if he had 10,000 lives. But even so, the 5 elements didn't gather around him. Just the 5 elements murderous aura next to him was enough to kill him. Previously, when facing the aftermath of the 5 elements murderous aura, Lin Yi was already suffering. Now, he was directly facing the 5 elements murderous aura. His whole body could not stop trembling. This was a biological instinct when facing a fatal crisis. Even if Lin Yi wanted to control it, he could not, unless he was already a dead man. Be careful. Don't go overboard. At this time, even the ghostly thing was frightened. Although this was his suggestion, even he couldn't stay calm when it really came to this moment. After all, he was on Lin Yi's body. He could feel the horror of the 5 elements murderous aura. This thing could really kill someone if he was not careful. If Lin Yi died, even he would be unlucky. I know. Lin Yi responded in a deep voice. At the same time, the 5 elements murderous aura slammed into his body. Lin Yi suddenly clenched his teeth until they bled. All the muscles on his body trembled like a sieve. The quenching of the aftermath before was already like being cut by 1,000 knives, but the pain at this moment was more than 100 times. It's coming. Under the extreme pain, the genuine qi in Lin Yi's body suddenly moved wildly spontaneously. It spontaneously formed a resistance with the 5 elements' murderous aura outside, and it skyrocketed uncontrollably. The opportunity for a breakthrough had come. The thick barrier in front of the late stage of gold core suddenly loosened under the crazy impact of the genuine qi. The breakthrough was close at hand. Lin Yi did not dare to neglect. He quickly lowered his body and withdrew from the 5 poisons swamp. Without saying a word, he jumped down from the high platform and sat cross-legged, concentrating on the breakthrough. First, he was directly facing the baptism of the 5 elements' murderous aura. The moment just now was the limit that he could endure. Second, the breakthrough process could not be disturbed at all. Otherwise, if it was light, he would be injured. If it was heavy, he would be possessed by the devil. There were many cases where he even died on the spot. The 5 elements' murderous aura could only be used to find the opportunity for a breakthrough. If he wanted to break through while enduring the baptism of the 5 elements' murderous aura, it was simply courting death. Even if he was courting death, he should not seek it in such a way. Everything was ready, and the east wind had arrived. Lin Yi's breakthrough could be said to be a matter of course. In just half an hour, he was reborn without any wind or danger, and his whole temperament was completely new. Although there seemed to be only a thin line between the peak of the middle stage of gold core and the late stage of gold core, the meaning of the two was completely different. Before, he was just a typical gold core expert, but now he had reached a level where he could look forward to a higher realm. After entering the late stage of gold core, most cultivators had already begun to prepare for the next breakthrough to the Yuanying stage. Chu Bubi was an example. Ordinary cultivators were still like this, but Lin Yi was the strongest gold core cultivator who had a perfect breakthrough. The process from the late stage of gold core to the great perfection of gold core was much faster than ordinary people. Stepping into the late stage of gold core meant that he was not far from the Yuanying stage. Carefully feeling it, with the new power in his body, Lin Yi took a deep breath. From the peak of the middle stage of gold core to the late stage of gold core, he could clearly feel that the improvement in strength was not just a little bit, it was simply a skyrocketing increase. Of course, Lin Yi did not show too much joy. It was Lin Yi's consistent style to be indifferent. What's more, after seeing the Shishan Old Master, the evil cultivator of the mountain opening stage, and the even more terrifying spirit beast guards of the spirit beast clan, this little improvement in strength was not worth mentioning for those high and mighty super existences. Naturally, Lin Yi would not be ecstatic for this little breakthrough. This trip to the South Continent opened Lin Yi's eyes. The level he saw was far higher than before. Advancing to the late stage of gold core was just a small step, and there was still a long way to go in the future. To be continued. Chapter 5995. Text online reading site domain mobile phone reading. Please visit. Everyone could tell that Xiao Hongkai had broken at least 2 fingers, maybe even more. It's just a few of your fingers. This is just a small punishment for you. Who told you to be so arrogant and disrespectful to me, the rookie king? Ha 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 ha. Ma Dang laughed unscrupulously as he continued to use his feet to crush Xiao Hongkai's fingers. He did not use any true qi. He wanted to use this kind of ordinary method to torture Xiao Hongkai bit by bit until she collapsed. Vertex novel, however, Xiao Hongkai's performance greatly disappointed him. No matter how unbearable the pain from his finger was, this guy did not even make a sound. He just stared coldly at Ma Dun. Lu Bianren and the rest immediately spread out and surrounded the horse like a spear. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiao Hongkai was being stepped on by him, they would definitely have made their move. As members of Lin Yi's faction, it could be said that they were bound together for good or bad. They would definitely not stand by and watch as Xiao Hongkai was killed. Oh, I didn't expect you to be a tough guy. Interesting. Ignoring Lu Bianren and the others who were glaring at him like tigers watching their prey, Ma Dafeng put on an expression of a cat toying with a mouse as he looked down at Xiao Hongkai with great interest and said, "Actually, I'm not a murderous person. If you know what's good for you, lower your head and admit your mistake, and sincerely call me grandfather a few times. Maybe I'll be happy and spare your little life, lest others say that I'm cruel and merciless to my fellow disciples. How about it? I'll count to 3. Don't blame me if you miss this opportunity. Call you Grandpa? So, you're saying that you're ready to join our Qiao family? Ha 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 ha, unfortunately, our Qiao family's threshold is too high. We only accept people and not dogs. I'm afraid you won't have this chance." Xiao Hongkai couldn't stop laughing. He didn't take his opponent's threat to heart at all. It would be a miracle if he was afraid of the threat of using a horse as a spear. 1. Ma Daoqiang's expression turned cold, and he used even more strength to stomp on the ground. He couldn't be bothered to argue with Xiao Hongkai, and immediately started counting. Lu Bianren and the rest felt their hearts clench. Killing intent erupted from their bodies. If they were to allow Xiao Hongkai to die in the hands of the other party right under their noses, how would they be able to face Lin Yi in the future? At this moment, everyone only had the same thought in their minds. What bullsh *T rookie king? As long as he dared to kill Xiao Hongkai. Even if he had to risk being severely punished by Blue Cloud Pavilion, he had to kill this bastard on the spot. 2. Ma Daoqiang continued counting. At the same time, he shot a disdainful glance at the murderous crowd. The trace of mockery in his eyes was obvious. Strictly speaking, the strength of the few present was not weak among the disciples of Blue Cloud Pavilion. However, if they wanted to go against Ma Daoqiang with this little bit of strength, they were simply daydreaming. If these people dared to attack him, he wouldn't mind killing a few more people today. In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. He might as well wipe out everyone in Lin Yi's faction. Let's see who still dares to say that he was inferior to Lin Yi. 3. I've already counted for you. If you want to kill me, hurry up and do it. Don't dawdle here. You're annoying me. Xiao Hongkai curled his lips in disdain. Right now, he was being stepped on by the other party. He didn't have the ability to resist. If it was someone else, they might really be frightened by Ma Daoqiang. Unfortunately, he, Xiao Hongkai, had never known how the word death was written. What was there to be afraid of? Humph, you're really not afraid of death? Then I'll fulfill your wish. The killing intent in Ma Daoqiang's eyes intensified. At this moment, Xiao Hongcai's life was in his hands. Xiao Hongcai's life or death was completely in his hands. He didn't even need to move his finger. He could just send a wisp of true qi to ensure that Xiao Hongkai would die. Don't you dare. The one who spoke was not Xiao Hongkai. It was Lu Bianren, senior brother Ku Bai, Xiao Ran, and Li Jingming. No matter how cautious they were, since things had come to this, they had no choice but to make a move. They couldn't just watch as Xiao Hongkai was killed by Ma Daoqiang. If they couldn't stop him, they could only choose to bury Ma Daoqiang with him and avenge Xiao Hongkai. Otherwise, how would they have the face to face Lin Yi? The killing intent on the 4 of them soared and they launched a surprise attack from 4 different directions. Humph, you're just a chicken and a stray dog. How dare you act so presumptuously in front of me? Ma Daoqiang didn't even look at the 4 of them. He looked at Xiao Hongkai beneath his feet and his gaze grew even more ferocious. It was as if Lu Bianren and the other 3 were completely beneath his notice. They weren't even worth a second glance. Seeing Ma Daoqiang's fearless attitude, Lu Bianren and the other 3 were not happy. Instead, they were worried. Without hesitation, they used their strongest killing moves. Although it was a good thing for the 4 of them to underestimate their enemy, was it really so? What happened next explained why Ma Daoqiang was so dismissive towards them. There was no other reason. The difference in their strength was too great. They weren't even on the same level. Ma Daoqiang used the same method he used against Xiao Hongkai. For cracks suddenly appeared beneath Ma Daoqiang's feet, and he appeared beneath Lu Bianren and the other three at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. However, this time, he didn't try to trap the four of them. Instead, a sharp spike shot out from the crack. The four of them didn't even have the chance to react. Speed was the only thing that couldn't be broken. However, the four sharp spikes that were used against Lu Bianren and the other three were formed from extremely concentrated vital energy. At the same time, they were terrifyingly hard and frighteningly fast. This was a method that was made purely for killing people. Not only was it extremely hidden and sudden, it was also extremely effective. Without exception, Lu Bianren and the other three were hit by the sharp spikes at the same time. Although they didn't manage to dodge in time, Lu Bianren, Xiao Ran, and Li Jingming were not ordinary people. Although their strength was far inferior to their opponents, their reactions were fast enough. When they were hit by the spikes, they barely managed to avoid being hit in the vitals. However, a large piece of flesh was scraped off their bodies at the same time. Blood was dripping, and it was a ghastly sight. In contrast, senior brother Ku, who was much less talented, was not so lucky. Accompanied by a hoarse scream, the sharp spike pierced through his right thigh without any resistance. His whole body was brought up, and blood splattered everywhere as he hung upside down in the air. Because of the intense pain, he struggled. Because of the struggle, the spike sank deeper and deeper, and the pain became more and more intense. Everyone was so shocked by the scene that they couldn't move. They even forgot about their own injuries. The spike was sharp at the top and wide at the bottom. If senior brother Ku continued to struggle like this, the wound that pierced through his thigh would only get bigger and bigger. In the end, his entire right leg would be broken. Senior brother Ku. Xiao Hongkai, who was being stepped on by Ma Daoqiang, was so angry that her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. To be continued. R527. Chapter 5996. Text online reading site domain mobile phone reading. Please visit. This was indeed a feast at the bottom of the sea, but the host of the feast was not the hundreds of ferocious sea beasts that had gathered here. They were just food on the table, nothing more. Lin Yi looked at this shocking scene in his mind and suddenly became speechless. He watched as the super sea beast that looked like a giant electric eel surged out and devoured all the sea beasts that it had electrocuted. Even Lin Yi couldn't help but have an impulse to kneel and surrender to it. After finishing its meal, the giant electric eel was left with only the tempting and bloody carcass of the sea beast. It then turned around and lurked back into the deep sand, waiting for another prey to take the bait. Lin Yi fell into deep thought as he watched this scene. The ghostly thing once said that although the sea beasts and the spirit beasts were both beasts, they were completely different systems. To a certain extent, the spirit beasts were not much different from human cultivators as they prioritized cultivation throughout their long lives. However, the sea beasts were different. No matter how powerful the sea beasts were, they still maintained an extremely high bestial nature. Therefore, they rarely took the initiative to cultivate. For them, eating blood was the best way to cultivate. The higher the level of existence they ate, the faster their strength would increase. This was a pure law of nature. The law of the jungle was vividly reflected in them. However, compared to the way the sea beasts lived, Lin Yi was more interested in something else, that flash of deep purple lightning. Lin Yi had been observing carefully since the beginning. Hundreds of sea beasts were attracted by the smell of blood. Any one of them was at least at the mysterious ascending stage. There were many sea beasts at the mountain opening stage, and there were even more than one at the sea splitting stage. However, with just a flash of lightning, all the sea beasts were electrocuted without any suspense. What a terrifying strength! At that moment, Lin Yi once again experienced what it meant to be creepy. However, in addition to the fear in his heart, he did not know why he had a strange impulse. His mind kept recalling the scene of the deep purple lightning, and the feeling became more and more intense. Out of the instinct to constantly become stronger, Lin Yi subconsciously wanted to imitate it. It was a pity that the scene was too fast and too short. Even if it was constantly replayed in his mind, he could not see it clearly. Lin Yi had the instinct to imitate it, but he could not grasp the essence. The memory fragments that were reflected in his mind continued. The giant electric eel was still lurking in the deep sand. But this time, it did not attract those bloodthirsty sea beasts. In fact, the eel had already eaten all the powerful sea beasts within 100 miles. In order to catch the next wave of sea beasts, it had to wait a few months. However, this time, it only took a few hours before it attracted an uninvited guest. The 5-poison dragon. Looking at the existence in the memory fragments from afar, Lin Yi's eyes suddenly narrowed. This time, it was a dragon that shone with 5 different colors. Its appearance was exactly the same as the most powerful 5 elements murderous chi that he had seen before, but it felt more real. Its body was larger, and its aura was more threatening. He'd never seen a 5-poison Jiao dragon before, but Lin Yi was certain that this was a 5-poison Jiao dragon. He slowly swam to the side of the sea beast's corpse. After the 5-poison dragon circled around it, it did not eagerly open its mouth to devour like the other sea beasts. After all, it was a true super spiritual beast. Although eating flesh and blood was effective for it, it was not as attractive. However, it was not as attractive as it was for the sea beasts. Moreover, a few hours ago, over 100 powerful sea beasts had died here. The surrounding seawater was still lingering with a thick murderous aura that could not be dispersed. Even Lin Yi could easily sense that something was wrong, let alone the 5-poison dragon. The giant electric eel seemed to be very patient. No matter how the 5-poison dragon swam back and forth, it just hid in the deep sand and did not move. Although its body was huge, it perfectly blended in with its surroundings. Even the aura of its body was no different from that of its surroundings. Even though Lin Yi knew that it was hiding here, he could not find it after a moment of distraction. He could not see any flaws at all. Only the unique perspective in the memory fragments told Lin Yi that this super spiritual beast that looked like a giant electric eel had not truly quietened down. It had been closely watching the 5-poison dragon's every move from beginning to end. It seemed to be ready to make a move at any time to electrocute the 5-poison dragon and then eat it to its heart's content. An almost undetectable electric current spread throughout the surrounding sea, covering a range of thousands of miles. However, because it was too weak, no creature in the sea could sense anything strange. This was a unique sensing method that belonged to the giant electric eel. It did not have eyes, nor did it use divine sense. However, these tiny electric currents were far more effective than divine sense. They were clearer and left no traces. The 5-poison dragon was the same as the other creatures in the sea. It did not seem to sense the existence of the giant electric eel at all. After circling around the sea beast's corpse twice, it finally prepared to eat it. However, at this moment, the deep purple electric arc that had appeared before descended once again. Lin Yi's heart immediately tightened. Seeing that the 5-poison dragon was about to follow in the footsteps of the hundreds of powerful sea beasts, he did not expect that the 5-poison dragon, which had been struck by the deep purple electric arc, would suddenly turn into a phantom formed from vital energy and then quickly dissipate. The true body of the 5-poison dragon had unknowingly appeared on top of the giant electric eel's head. Accompanied by an earth-shaking dragon roar, it waved its front claws, and a stream of 5-colored vital energy instantly pierced through the giant electric eel's body. Seeing this, Lin Yi's eyelids suddenly trembled. After cultivating in the underground space for so long, his familiarity with the 5 elements killing aura could be said to be unparalleled. The stream of 5-colored vital energy that the 5-poison dragon had released at this moment was clearly an enhanced version of the 5 elements killing aura. If there was any difference between the two, it would be that it did not have the kind of natural intelligence that was born on its own. Instead, it was easier to control it with ease. When Lin Yi first saw the 5 elements killing aura, the ghost had said that as long as his strength was strong enough, he would be able to release a stream of 5 elements killing aura with a wave of his hand. At that time, Lin Yi had yearned to be able to do it himself. However, he did not have the extravagant hope of reaching this step in his subsequent cultivation. This was because with his current strength, it was impossible for him to activate the 5 elements killing aura. Lin Yi had never expected that after leaving the underground space, the scene that he had thought would only exist in his dream would actually become a reality. However, it did not happen to him, but to the 5 poison dragon. To be continued. Chapter 5997. As he sighed with emotion, the memory fragments that were reflected in Lin Yi's mind suddenly became intense. The 5 elements murderous chi of the 5 poisons flood dragon did not kill it in one blow. Instead, it completely stimulated the ferocity of the giant electric eel. When a super sea beast that could even swallow an existence at the sea-splitting stage went berserk, this scene was tantamount to the end of the world. The surging fighting spirit and the sharp murderous chi seemed to be the only 2 things left between heaven and earth, covering the sky and covering the earth in all directions. Out of his instinct to protect himself, Lin Yi subconsciously wanted to escape from this terrible and dangerous battlefield. Even if he only saw this scene in the memory fragments that were reflected in his mind, the terrifying pressure that seemed to have materialized still made him breathless. However, just like in the beginning, Lin Yi had already fallen into the memory fragments and was unable to extricate himself. At this moment, he could not control his own will at all. The scene of the earth-shattering battle between the 5 poisons flood dragon and the giant electric eel was deeply reflected in his mind uncontrollably. Even if he closed his eyes, everything was always clear. In an instant, Lin Yi's whole body began to tremble violently like a sieve. It looked like he was on the verge of collapse. Just as the ghostly thing could not help but want to interrupt him, Lin Yi suddenly stopped moving. His whole body actually entered a strange state. TSK, is this boy really blessed, or is his innate talent so unique? How can he always encounter such good things that others can't even dream of? The ghostly thing could not help but click its tongue in wonder. At this moment, Lin Yi had once again entered an incomparably mysterious state of epiphany. However, unlike the unconscious awakening of his divine sense last time, he would only know what he could comprehend this time after he woke up. The only thing that the ghostly thing had to do now was to keep a lookout for him. This opportunity could not be asked for. It must not be interrupted by external forces. At this moment, in Lin Yi's sea of consciousness, the 5 poisons flood dragon and the giant electric eel were fighting fiercely. Powerful 5 elements murderous chi and dark purple electric arcs were constantly colliding between heaven and earth. Every time they collided, the world changed color. For the surrounding seas and even the entire ocean, it was like they had experienced an apocalyptic disaster. At this time, Lin Yi once again felt the stirring instinctively when he first saw the dark purple electric arc. However, this time, he was not imitating the dark purple electric arc, but the 5 elements murderous aura released by the 5 poison dragon. After all, Lin Yi had a deep understanding of the 5 elements murderous aura, and now that he saw the 5 poison serpent using it again and again, it was as if he had a ready-made teacher. It was an obvious opportunity for him to learn, and if he didn't hurry up and learn, that Lin Yi was really stupid. Be it the 5 poison flood dragon or the giant electric eel, they were both super ferocious beasts that should not exist in this world. Furthermore, they seemed to be well matched in strength. This unprecedented battle did not end in just a few moves. Instead, it unexpectedly fell into a stalemate of attrition. The more they fought, the angrier they became. In the end, they used all their trump cards and entered a state where they would not stop until one of them died. This benefited Lin Yi, who was a bystander. Otherwise, if the 5 poison flood dragon's attack was like the giant electric eel's dark purple electric arc, the battle ended in a flash. If it ended in a flash, he would not even be able to tell how it attacked, let alone secretly learn it. But now, disregarding everything else, the 5 poison flood dragon had activated the 5 elements murderous chi no less than 100 times. The entire process was clearly seen by Lin Yi, who was a bystander and a peeping scholar. In addition, he already had a deep understanding of the five elements' murderous qi. Learning it secretly was naturally twice the result with half the effort. This was especially so for Lin Yi, who was currently immersed in a rare state of epiphany. Whether it was his insight or his ability to practice, they were far from ordinary. Normally, he would not even dare to think about it. At this moment, he instinctively began to do things. Learning bit by bit. Every time the five poison flood dragon activated the five elements' murderous qi, Lin Yi would try to imitate it. Although he was confused at first, after repeating it over 100 times, Lin Yi's actions gradually began to look more like it. They were both murderous qi of the five elements. Although the murderous qi that the five poison flood dragon activated and the murderous qi that was formed naturally were essentially the same, they were two completely different things. The former was a powerful martial art that could be controlled by cultivators, while the latter was a powerful force that belonged to the heavens and earth. It could not be desecrated, nor could it be imitated. After an unknown amount of time, a faint stream of vital energy suddenly overflowed from Lin Yi's palm. In terms of power, it was completely unsightly. Any cultivator in the foundational stage could easily destroy it. However, after sensing this vital energy, even the ghostly thing could not help but be a little surprised. This was a murderous qi of the five elements. Although it was very weak, it was indeed a five-colored vital energy. The five elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were all present. There was no doubt that this was a real murderous qi of the five elements. He actually succeeded in learning it. This kid is really a freak. The ghostly thing was stunned for a long time before it cried out in shock. It did say that as long as one was strong enough, one could activate the murderous qi of the five elements, but that was at least after the mountain opening stage. Lin Yi was only at the peak of the early nascent soul stage. From the ghostly thing's point of view, a move like the murderous qi of the five elements was a terrifying martial art that could kill anyone in the mountain opening stage or even higher. Now, it was mastered by a kid at the peak of the early nascent soul stage. What kind of scene would that be? Once Lin Yi truly displayed the murderous qi of the five elements, the scene would definitely not be as simple as fighting against an enemy of a higher level. It would feel like a 3-year-old suddenly taking out a gun from his pocket. It was not a toy gun, but a real gun that could really take a person's life. Even with the ghostly thing's experience and knowledge, it could not help but shudder at the thought of that scene. After spending so much time with Lin Yi, it had always thought that Lin Yi was a monster among humans. However, now that it thought about it, not only humans, but all living creatures in the world were definitely abnormal existences. Compared to the former Azure Dragon, this kid was definitely a freak. After successfully activating the murderous qi of the five elements for the first time, Lin Yi did not show any expression of joy on his face. Instead, he continued to immerse himself in that state, repeating it over and over again. Chapter 59-98. Oh. Your eyesight is not bad. You know that I want to rob you. Then what are you talking about? Hurry up and take out all the good stuff. The curly-bearded man immediately burst into laughter, and then he added, Don't play tricks on me. You must have something good in your hands since you ventured out of the South Continent. If you hand it over consciously, I can spare your life. If you play tricks on me, I can only feed you to the sea beasts. You don't look like a fool. I hope you are a smart person. I believe I am a smart person, but it's hard to say whether you are. Robbery? Hee, this is really not a big deal in the South Continent Sea. But do you know what happened to those guys who robbed me last time? Lin Yi was still sitting on the back of the spirit bird and said with a playful smile. What happened? The curly-bearded man was not in a hurry to make a move. He also put on an expression like a cat playing with a mouse. He squinted at Lin Yi and seemed to be calculating how many benefits he could get this time. 3 were thrown into the sea to feed the beasts, and the last one is locked up. We don't know if he's alive or not, but I don't think you'll be that lucky. There's still the sea all around us, and it'd be easier to just feed the beasts. It'd be a perfect ending, don't you think? Lin Yi said seriously. TSK, you are really arrogant. You want to throw me into the sea to feed the sea beasts? Ha 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 ha. The curly-bearded man suddenly laughed uncontrollably as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He was out of breath and could not stop for a long time. Lin Yi glanced at him and suddenly ordered the spirit bird under him. It seems that he is a psychopath. He is so pitiful. God is kind to all living things. Let's go. After that, the man and the bird really left. The curly-bearded man, who was still laughing, almost fainted when he saw this. Just now, Lin Yi looked at him as if he was looking at a fool. This kid actually dared to treat him as an idiot? With a scream, the ghost-eyed golden eagle, who was left behind, caught up in an instant. With lightning speed, it blocked in front of Lin Yi and the spirit bird. The corner of the curly-bearded man's mouth twitched. He stared coldly at Lin Yi and said, "You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, right? Well, you have guts. Today, I really don't want any treasures from you. Just because of what you said just now, you must die today." After that, the momentum of the curly-bearded man suddenly skyrocketed. His overbearing momentum unreservedly oppressed Lin Yi and the spirit bird. The spirit bird lost its balance and almost fell into the sea. Even Lin Yi's eyelids twitched. This guy was actually a mystic ascending stage master. Although it seemed that he was only at the early stage of the mysterious ascension realm, experts of this level would have a foothold no matter where they went. Even the most powerful sects would treat them as distinguished guests. Not to mention being an elder in power, no matter how bad it was, he could at least be a guest. If he was in the 3 pavilions of the North Island, he would already have the opportunity to enter the Elders' Council. To be honest, Lin Yi had never thought that such an existence would come out to be a robber. The things in this world were really strange. There were all kinds of people. A dignified early-stage mysterious ascension stage master could not make money doing anything. Why did he have to come out to be a robber? Looking at Lin Yi's incredulous eyes, the curly-bearded man suddenly laughed proudly again. He liked this kind of look the most. So every time he looked for someone to make a move, he would not show his cultivation at the early stage of mysterious ascension stage at the beginning. Only when it was almost time to make a move would he show his sharpness. This was the feeling of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Afraid? Ha ha ha, unfortunately, it's too late. If you had taken the initiative to hand over the treasure just now, I might have let you live. But now, since I said that you must die, there is no second possibility. Do you understand the law? The curly-bearded man laughed unscrupulously. The law follows the law. Lin Yi couldn't help but grin. Seeing that the guy was still looking at him like he was an idiot, he frowned slightly and said, "You can't really be an idiot, right? If the law follows the law, I would have died the moment you said the word die. How could I still be alive now? I say, how did you get your strength at the early stage of mysterious ascension stage? Don't you need IQ to cultivate these days?" After hearing this, the curly-bearded man's face turned red. Even with sunglasses, it could be seen that the law follows the law was just him blowing his own trumpet. With his cultivation at the early stage of mysterious ascension stage, he was at least 108,000 miles away from the real law follows the law. You have a sharp tongue. Good, very good, I've changed my mind now. I've decided not to throw you into the sea to feed the sea beasts. I'll beat you until you're crippled, then hang you up with a rope and drag you into the sea to fish for sea beasts. What do you think of this idea? The curly-bearded man said angrily. It's not bad, but I think the sea beasts might not like to eat my meat. They definitely prefer to eat someone with a stronger smell of blood. It seems that you are more suitable. Lin Yi smiled faintly. The curly-bearded man flew into a rage. He was choked for a long time and couldn't say a word. Only now did he finally realize one thing. If they really wanted to bicker, even if there were 10 of him, he wouldn't be a match for this sharp-tongued kid. How about it? You also think it makes sense, right? Lin Yi just crossed his arms and looked at him with a smile. If it was in the past, he probably wouldn't have the mood to talk nonsense with a robber, even if the other party was a mysterious Ascension stage master. But now he was in a good mood, and this was the first time he saw a living person in more than half a year, so he unconsciously wanted to play around with him. Being looked at by Lin Yi like this, the curly-bearded man's anger soared to the heavens. He immediately lost the thought of a cat playing with a mouse, and immediately said with a murderous look, "I've seen many people who don't know life from death, but it's the first time I've seen someone as reckless as you. Kid, let me give you a word of advice. It's useless to just talk, it will only make your death more miserable. Remember this in your next life." After saying that, the curly-bearded man no longer gave Lin Yi a chance to speak. He suddenly pulled out a pitch-black long rod from behind him, and along with a roar, he smashed the rod down towards Lin Yi's head from afar. His rod was 2 feet long, and the distance between the two parties was at least more than 10 feet. Logically speaking, it should be impossible to hit Lin Yi. But when the rod fell, it turned into a large and fierce shadow of the rod that blotted out the sky and earth. The terrible murderous aura that was revealed was enough to change the color of the world. Chapter 6000. Ma Dongxiang was wrapped in thick bandages, and his 2 underlings carried him back to Blue Cloud Pavilion Residence No. 1. After all, the environment here was much better than Dan Hall, and it was more suitable for recuperation. Apex novel. However, when he saw that Residence No. 1 was brightly lit, especially when he heard the sounds of laughter coming from inside, Ma Dongxiang's already miserable face turned even paler. He even wanted to occupy his own residence. Motherf ** Lin Yi, this bastard was too much. Dongxiang bro, what should we do? The 2 underlings looked at Ma Dongxiang awkwardly. Listening to the voices of Lin Yi and the others, they didn't even dare to go within 100 meters, let alone let them step into the main door. Even Ma Dongxiang, with his strength, almost died without knowing why. If it were them, wouldn't they be looking for death? The 2 underlings were afraid, but Ma Dongxiang himself was even more afraid. He couldn't help but shiver when he thought of Lin Yi's name. Losing wasn't scary, what was scary was not knowing how he lost, and how much difference was there between their strengths. Ma Dongxiang didn't dare to think deeper, and he didn't dare to face Lin Yi again. Although Residence No. 1 still belonged to him in name, he wouldn't dare to ask for it from Lin Yi even if he was given 10,000 guts. He was arrogant, but he wasn't stupid. Bring me to Soaring Pavilion, I want to find Chong bro, hurry. Ma Dongxiang roared hysterically. Under the stimulation of his anger, the wounds on his legs that hadn't healed started bleeding again, and he almost fainted from the pain. However, he still forced himself to hold on. He couldn't bear this anger even if he was beaten to death, he wasn't willing to accept it. The 2 lackeys did not dare to neglect and immediately carried the horse as a spear to the Soaring Sky Pavilion. They did not care that the sky was getting dark and knocked on the door in the middle of the night. They hurriedly carried the horse into Su Lingchong's residence. This place was the same as Blue Cloud Pavilion No. 1, and it was also brightly lit. It wasn't just Su Lingchong himself. Meng Tong, Kang Mingming, and Zhong Pingliang were all present as well. Today was their usual meeting day. When they saw Ma Dongxiang's miserable appearance at the moment, Su Lingchong and others were instantly stunned. Ma Dongxiang had just told them in the morning that he was going to set off for the South Island. Why did he suddenly become so miserable? Brother Chong, I saw Lin Yi. Ma Daoqiang's first words shocked everyone. The news of Lin Yi's return had already spread like wildfire outside, but they had been locked up in the meeting room all this time, so they had no idea about it. Upon hearing this name that made people gnash their teeth in hatred, but there was nothing they could do about it. Su Lingchong and the others' expressions changed subtly, especially Pin Liang, who was secretly surprised. He, Lu Bianren, and the others had been worried about Lin Yi, and now he could finally relax. Lin Yi? When did this guy come back? Su Lingchong's expression changed. Today, I met him when I went to the North Island Cultivators Guild to take a mission, and then. Ma Dongxiang looked down at the bandage on his leg that was soaked with blood, and said with grief and indignation, "It's all because of this bastard Lin Yi that I ended up in this situation. Brother Chong, you have to help me." "Did you fight with him?" Su Lingchong frowned and glanced at his knee. "Yes, I wanted to help you, Brother Chong. So I challenged him in public, but I didn't expect this bastard to be more powerful than I thought. I accidentally fell into his trap. Brother Chong, you have to get back at him. Don't let that bastard get carried away," Ma Dongxiang said embarrassedly. Although he had been traumatized by Lin Yi's unfathomable means in his heart, he couldn't admit defeat verbally. Otherwise, how could he go out and meet people? Ma Dongxiang looked at Su Lingchong with a burning gaze. They had always been at odds with Lin Yi, and the reason why they went against Lin Yi this time was also because of the mission he gave them. Therefore, it was reasonable for Su Lingchong to stand up for him, and with Master Su's strength, he would definitely not let that bastard Lin Yi have it easy. When the time comes, he would definitely be able to get back at him. However, Su Lingchong's next sentence made him dumbfounded. "Are you crazy? Is your brain filled with sh*t? Huh?" Ma Dongxiang didn't react for a moment. "I asked you to find out information about Lin Yi, but did I say that I asked you to provoke him? Did I ask you to find trouble with him?" Su Lingchong said expressionlessly. But. Ma Dongxiang immediately had a wronged expression. When he gave the mission, Su Lingchong indeed didn't say anything about dealing with Lin Yi, but when everyone talked about Lin Yi during meetings, they would always be filled with righteous indignation, as if they wanted to tear that bastard into pieces. Furthermore, didn't they go through so much trouble to find Lin Yi just to deal with him? Could it be that they were wrong? But my ass. Even I don't dare to easily go against that bastard, and you still want to go? Do you think that you're more capable than me? Su Lingchong's face darkened as he turned around and pointed at the others. "Come, you go and ask them. Ask them, who among them dares to find trouble with Lin Yi alone?" Ma Dongxiang heard that and looked at the others. His gaze swept across Meng Tong, Kang Mingming, and Zhong Pingliang, only to find that all of them were shaking their heads. He was completely stunned. As far as he knew, these people weren't cowards. Why were they so afraid of that bastard Lin Yi? Normally, even if their strength was slightly inferior, they wouldn't shake their heads so resolutely. It was as if the words, "I'm afraid of Lin Yi," were written on their faces. Did they not even want the most basic of face? Unfortunately, he didn't expect that even though Su Lingchong and the others were prideful people, they weren't idiots. After suffering so many losses at Lin Yi's hands, if they still didn't learn their lesson after this, then it could only be said that there was something wrong with their brains. "Did you see that? You idiot. Which one of these people here doesn't have a higher position than you? So many of them don't dare to provoke Lin Yi, but you? You even dared to challenge him in front of everyone? You're lucky that he didn't kill you this time." Su Lingchong pointed at Ma Dongxiang's nose and scolded, "I asked you to go and find information, not to send you to your death. Do you think that your wings have hardened and you can ignore this young master's words?" "No. I don't dare." Ma Dongxiang quickly shook his head. His already ugly face instantly turned even paler. If Su Lingchong really thought that he was disloyal, then he would be dead for sure. Chapter 6001. Text online reading site domain mobile phone reading. Please visit. Looking at the beautiful scene in front of him, Lin Yi's heart completely calmed down. Unknowingly, he felt a sense of security that he hadn't felt for a long time. Previously, after experiencing so many things in the South Continent, although he had been cultivating and improving, Lin Yi could clearly feel that there was a lingering impetuosity in his heart. The root cause was actually not difficult to find. Cultivation was about tension and relaxation. During the 1.5 years in the South Continent, especially after being hunted by the West Mountain sect elder, when was there a time when he was completely relaxed? Once one's nerves were strained for too long, there would always be repercussions. This was like a ticking time bomb. At first glance, it seemed inconspicuous, but who knew when it would make one pay a heavy price? However, even with Lin Yi's temperament, he could only suppress this impetuosity, but could not completely eradicate it. Originally, after returning to the North Island, Lin Yi planned to relax for a while and release his stress. Unfortunately, Tiandan Pavilion was in urgent need of elixirs, so he had to hurry up and make elixirs. As soon as he finished making elixirs, he was asked by Shanghai Laner to be her bodyguard. Lin Yi thought that if he wanted to really rest and relax, he would have to wait until he came back from West Island, but he didn't expect that after watching the sunrise on a whim today, the trace of impetuosity in his heart suddenly disappeared, which was a pleasant surprise. He glanced at the Shangguan Laner and the little curly bear beside him. At this moment, the man and the pet were completely intoxicated by the beautiful scenery of the rising sun. It was as if their eyes were going to melt. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Admiring the beautiful sunrise on the sea was indeed a great joy in life. Lin Yi was about to revel in it, but for some reason, he suddenly had a very unnatural feeling. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt like there was a pair of eyes staring at him from the dark, but he couldn't find the owner of this gaze. Lin Yi's heart stirred, and he silently extended his divine sense. With the current strength of his divine sense, it was sufficient to cover the entire treasured ship. However, he suddenly discovered a shocking fact. He couldn't lock onto this observer. This time, Lin Yi was shocked. He was no longer in the mood to watch the sunrise. This time, in the West Island mission, the top management of the 3 pavilions symbolically sent 3 elders, and the others were not particularly outstanding masters. There were only a few people who could completely avoid the perception of Lin Yi's divine senses. Those who could do this, at least, would not be the kind of people like Su Lingchong. Although the other party was a nascent soul stage expert, if he dared to use his spiritual sense to monitor Lin Yi could pull him out and beat him up in minutes. They were only at the same level of strength, but in reality, they were not on the same level. There's no need to look. It's Ram Jia and Lan Tiefu, the ghostly thing suddenly said. What? 2 people? Lin Yi was shocked. He could guess that this person was one of them, but he didn't think that both of them would be staring at him at the same time, and he could only rely on his intuition to discover one of them. His consciousness, which he thought was so strong, was completely useless in front of this person. Well, it's 2, the ghostly thing confirmed. Then which one did I feel? Lan Tiefu? Lin Yi was stunned and speculated. In his opinion, Lan Tiefu's strength must be slightly inferior to Ram Jia's. Then the one he felt must be him. But even so, it was not simple. This senior brother who was in charge of the inner core of Soaring Sky Pavilion was really not simple, since he could completely hide from his spiritual sense. No. The one you detected was Ram Jia. The strength of that Lan Tiefu is even more unfathomable, even stronger than that of Ram Jia. The ghostly thing's tone was also a little weird. Stronger than Ram Jia? How's that possible? Lin Yi was stunned. Ram Jia was a super genius hand-picked by Shanghai Tianhua. He was recognized as the #1 person of the new generation in the North Island. How could Lan Tiefu be stronger than him? Wouldn't that be unworthy of his name? I also find it a little strange, but it's the truth. It seems that the 3 major pavilions in the North Island aren't as simple as the outside world says. There are really hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The ghostly thing sighed. Even in its eyes, Ram Jia could be regarded as a super genius that only appeared once in a century. Now that Lan Tiefu, who was even stronger, suddenly appeared, the foundation of such a strong person was really not to be taken lightly. Upon hearing that, Lin Yi was shocked speechless. He didn't expect that the confidant of Shanghai Tianhua could be so strong that even Ram Jia could be suppressed by him. It could be seen that the title of the eldest senior brother of the inner sanctum of Soaring Sky Pavilion was not for nothing. Although Jia Mufan wasn't simple, he was still a far cry from the unfathomable Lan Tiefu. This alone was enough to see the huge gap between Soaring Sky Pavilion and Blue Cloud Pavilion. Their foundations were not on the same level at all. Soaring Sky Pavilion could always dominate the situation of the North Island purely because of their strength, which Blue Cloud Pavilion couldn't compare to. What's the strength of this Lan Tiefu? Lin Yi couldn't help but ask curiously. No matter what, he was now the second senior brother of the inner sanctum of Blue Cloud Pavilion. In terms of position, they were on the same level. Lin Yi really wanted to know the gap between him and Lan Tiefu. It's meaningless even if you know. It's better if you don't say it. The ghostly thing kept him guessing. Lin Yi was stunned again, and he was even more shocked. The meaning of the ghostly thing's words was very clear. He and Lan Tiefu were not on the same level at all. Once he revealed Lan Tiefu's true strength, he was afraid that he would be shocked. Originally, he thought that even if Lan Tiefu was strong, he wouldn't be too ridiculously strong. At most, he would be at the profound ascension stage. One should know that profound ascension stage was already the mainstay of the top 3 pavilions. If an eldest senior brother of the inner sanctum of Soaring Sky Pavilion was stronger than him, then there was no need for the top management to be in the first place. However, the ghostly thing's attitude clearly told him that Lan Tiefu's strength was not just at the profound ascension stage. Otherwise, there was no need to keep him guessing. Is he as strong as you at your peak, senior? Lin Yi asked cautiously. This time, he was really shocked. His evaluation of Lan Tiefu had suddenly jumped to the mountain opening stage. Could this guy be an earth opening stage expert? Or a higher stage, the sea-splitting stage? If someone said that the strength of the inner sanctum of Soaring Sky Pavilion could reach above the mountain opening stage before this, Lin Yi would definitely scoff at it. But now, after experiencing it personally, his previous understanding of the entire North Island had changed. The strength of the North Island was not as weak as the rumors said. In fact, he was simply hiding his strength, it was just that few people knew about it. Aren't you talking nonsense? If he's stronger than me, then how can I perceive him so easily? The ghostly thing said speechlessly. Oh. Lin Yi was a little relieved. If the ghostly thing said that Lan Tiefu's strength was still above him, then he would really be scared today. To be continued. Chapter 6002. Otherwise, you can just not go to the 10,000-year canyon, and they won't be able to stop you. But if you do that, it will be difficult to gain anything from this trial. In my opinion, you should obediently do as they say. This way, you can still get back what you spent in the 10,000-year canyon. Maybe you'll even be lucky. Are you stupid? You dare to believe Scarface's bullshit about eating people without spitting out the bones? It's true that there are good things in the 10,000-year canyon, but do you think you can just casually pick up the treasures inside? There are so many terrifying things inside that you can't even imagine. Even if you go in alive, it's hard to say if you can come out alive. You still want to get back what you spent? That's right, do you know how big Scarface's appetite is? Even if you go in, even if you are really lucky enough to find something good, when you come out, won't he plunder it again? Will he let you go so easily? Can't you use a little brain? Someone else echoed. Hearing this, the faces of the nearby cultivators became extremely ugly. This was the truth. Scarface was definitely not a kind and honest person. If he let you in, he would plunder it again. Of course, he would plunder it again when he let you out. This was something that could be done even if you used your toes to think. If you worked for him for free and risked your life, what else could you do? Then what else is there to say? We can only avoid this damn place. Even if the harvest is a little less, it's still better than letting Scarface plunder it. I'm not stupid. Immediately, some people wanted to retreat. Many people had the same idea, but not everyone was willing to retreat. After all, once they retreated, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack in the desert. Instead of that, it was better to risk it. Riches and honor came from danger. Sure enough, while everyone was talking in low voices, a man in gray suddenly jumped out from the crowd and attracted everyone's attention. I am Duan Wuzong of the Thousand Blades sect. I don't have any treasures on me. Because of this, I must go to the 10,000-year canyon. I hope you can help me. I believe you don't want to fight to the death over such a small matter. That won't be good for either of us. As the gray-robed man spoke, he revealed a powerful and overbearing aura. He was an expert at the peak of the nascent soul realm. The moment this Duan Wuzong appeared, the crowd went into an uproar. Everyone's eyes widened. The reason they had surrounded this place was because they were in a dilemma. It was precisely because they lacked a leader. But now, one had finally appeared. Oh, it looks like a tough guy has come and is ready to challenge me alone? Scarface looked disdainful and carelessly glanced at Duan Wuzong. I wouldn't dare. Whether the others live or die has nothing to do with me. I'm just asking you to open the door. After all, if we really fight, it's not a good thing for both of us. Perhaps someone might even fish in troubled waters, don't you think? Duan Wuzong's tone was hard to conceal his pride. Hee, this guy is going to walk into a mine. From afar, Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. This Thousand Blades sect's Duan Wuzong was indeed a rare expert, and could be regarded as an outstanding existence among the group of peak Yuanying stage cultivators. It was normal for him to have such arrogance and confidence, but unfortunately, the opponent was, after all, an expert at the peak of the early profound ascension stage. He wouldn't fall for this. You don't think he'll win? Huiyuti couldn't help but ask curiously. In her opinion, this person was very strong. Just as he said, if they really fought, even if it wasn't a lose-lose situation, it would definitely cause Scarface to let him go. Of course, Scarface's group is small in number. It's because of their deterrence that they can control so many people. If he sets a precedent, do you think so many people here will still be trembling in fear and not dare to move? Once the situation gets out of control, even with Scarface's strength, he won't be able to control it. Then he will completely fail as the Mountain King. Lin Yi analyzed. Then what will he do? Huiyuti asked thoughtfully. Of course he will destroy this Duan Wuzong with lightning speed. As long as he can establish his dominance in one fell swoop, no one here will dare to resist him anymore. They can only obediently let him plunder. Lin Yi smiled faintly. At the same time, he put himself aside. A peak early stage profound ascension expert was an unparalleled deterrent to others, but don't forget that he had killed a profound ascension expert a long time ago, and it was an instant kill. Before Lin Yi finished speaking, Scarface made a decision and laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha, this daddy has occupied this place for so many years, and there really aren't many who dare to threaten this daddy face to face. Surnamed Duan, you're a bit interesting, but unfortunately, you've miscalculated. Threaten this daddy? Do you think this daddy is the kind of coward who is afraid of threats? After saying that, Scarface suddenly let out a long roar and immediately attacked. Duan Wuzong was shocked. He stood up not to fight Scarface, but simply to make the other party feel that he was not to be trifled with, so he retreated. Who would have thought that the other party would not even spare him a glance? Now that he was riding a tiger, he had no choice but to fight. Clang! 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 Accompanied by an ear-piercing sound of metal colliding, a pile of divine weapons suddenly appeared on Duan Wuzong's body. All kinds of swords, spears, swords, halberds, everything needed. Counting them, there were at least 13 of them. No one knew how he carried them with him, but they all floated around him. The formation was quite astonishing. The crowd instantly gasped. Although they had yet to officially fight, this Duan Wuzong was truly powerful. From the looks of it, he could control 13 weapons at the same time. This was truly inconceivable. If an ordinary expert were to face him, wouldn't they be surrounded and beaten to death by these weapons in a matter of minutes? I've long heard that the Thousand Blades sect's martial techniques are unique. It is said that the stronger the Thousand Blades sect's disciple is, the more weapons they can control. When they reach the limit, it is even possible to achieve 1,000 blades at the same time. Seeing it today, it is indeed a well-deserved reputation. Hui Yudi sighed. Hee, it is indeed a bit interesting. Seeing this, Lin Yi couldn't help but be interested. He had seen many experts before, and there was no lack of all kinds of strange and cunning methods. But this was the first time he had seen someone who could control more than 10 weapons at the same time. I'll say it one last time. If you let me go, nothing will happen between us. Otherwise, the situation will become chaotic. With so many people here, the situation is not something you can control. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Duan Wuzong still did not want to use weapons. Although he had full confidence in his own strength, to say that he could really defeat an expert at the peak of the early stage of mysterious ascension was obviously a fool's dream. To be continued. Chapter 6003. If you have read this chapter, please go to topnovel/www.23wx.com or search for Top Novel or 23wx.com on Baidu. Please remember our new URL, Top Novel. http://www.wx.com. If you have read this chapter, please click here. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please move to page D. Small. You can also search for novel or 2-inch directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website. If you have read this chapter, please click here. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please go to D page. Small. Say/www.zfi.com to read the latest chapter. You can also search for D page, novel or 2-inch on Baidu. And please remember our new website, http://www.2wx.com. If you have read this chapter, please move to the latest chapter. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please go to topnovel/www.23wx.com or search for Top Novel or 23wx.com on Baidu. Please remember our new URL, Top Novel. http://www.wx.com. If you have read this chapter, please click here. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please move to page D. Small. You can also search for novel or 2-inch directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website. If you have read this chapter, please click here. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please go to D page. Small. Say/www.zfi.com to read the latest chapter. You can also search for D page, novel or 2-inch on Baidu. And please remember our new website, http://www.2wx.com. If you have read this chapter, please move to the latest chapter. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please go to topnovel/www.23wx.com or search for Top Novel or 23wx.com on Baidu. Please remember our new URL, Top Novel. http://www.2wx.com. WX, calm. If you have read this chapter, please click here. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please move to page D. Small. You can also search for novel or 2-inch directly on Baidu. Keep in mind our new website. If you have read this chapter, please click here. You can also search directly on Baidu. Please remember our new website address. If you have read this chapter, please go to D page. Small. Say /www. ZT, com to read the latest chapter. You can also search for D page, novel, or 2-inch on Baidu. And please remember our new website, http://www. 2wwx.com. Chapter 6004. Div a class equals, add_read, squinting eyes face script show_read. Just as she finished speaking, a thunderous boom rang out from above her head. An extremely thick pillar of lightning came crashing down, and the terrifying aura it produced caused Huiyuti's expression to change drastically. Not to mention a peak nascent soul cultivator, even a peak profound ascension stage cultivator would be struck to death by this pillar of lightning. Today, they really were going to die before they could succeed. However, what happened next stunned her. This incomparably terrifying pillar of lightning wasn't aimed at her or Lin Yi. Instead, it was aimed at the 5 Lightning Tribulation Memorial Arch. Following that, under Huiyuti's astonished gaze, the originally unremarkable 5 Lightning Tribulation Memorial Arch didn't shatter into pieces. Instead, it suddenly shone with boundless radiance, as if a peerless treasure had been baptized by heavenly lightning, revealing its astonishing appearance. From the looks of it, it should be a success. Lin Yi's eyes lit up as he looked at the 5 Lightning Tribulation Memorial Arch, which had undergone a drastic change in shape. Previously, it had only looked like a memorial arch, but now, it was covered with all kinds of exquisite and profound runes. Furthermore, a circle of light that was neither too big nor too small had appeared at the edge of the memorial arch. It rippled in a very orderly manner. This kind of circle of light gave off a very familiar feeling. It was a bit like a teleportation formation. This really seems to have broken the formation. But how is this possible? Huiyuti stared at the scene in front of her, dumbfounded. She had a rough idea of what would happen after breaking the formation. The information she had received was almost identical to what she was seeing right now. However, she still couldn't help but turn her head to look at Lin Yi in disbelief. Can you really use 5 different types of qi at the same time? Yes, this martial skill of mine is a bit special, Lin Yi vaguely explained. Then, he said, let's go. Oh, looks like I've found the right person. Huiyuti was very relieved. If Lin Yi didn't have this skill, this matter would have been quite troublesome. Perhaps they wouldn't even have been able to enter the gate in the end. However, everything was resolved now. According to the information she had received, as long as they could break this heavenly lightning formation, there were no more obstacles after that. The two of them didn't hesitate and immediately walked into the circle of light at the edge of the 5 Lightning Tribulation Memorial Arch. Sure enough, this circle of light was a small teleportation array. However, it was different from the teleportation arrays they had seen before. The other teleportation arrays required a certain amount of time to activate, but this one was different. As soon as Lin Yi and Huiyuti walked into the circle of light, the scene before them immediately changed. Rather than calling this a teleportation, it was more like opening Doraemon's Anywhere door. Once the door was pushed open, they would be transported to another place. At this moment, the scene unfolded in front of them. It was a narrow, one-way passageway. Above him was a line of sky. Dense thunderclouds covered the passageway. It was a daunting sight. In the beginning, Lin Yi had considered going up to explore the passageway. However, when he saw the thick thunderclouds, he quickly dismissed the idea. Recklessly going up would definitely result in him getting struck to death by lightning. Whoosh! Huiyuti heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Even though that was what the intelligence had told her, she was still worried that some unexpected danger would crop up. But from the looks of it, there seemed to be no danger for the time being. Let's go, Lin Yi said. Then, he led the way forward. There was only a one-way passageway in front of them. There was no other choice. In any case, he had the jade pendant to warn him. Even if there was danger, he could react in advance. After 3 turns, Lin Yi suddenly stopped in his tracks. Behind him, Huiyuti was caught off guard and bumped into him. She asked in a soft voice, "What's wrong?" "There's no other way." Lin Yi's voice was filled with an inexplicable excitement. "There's no other way?" Huiyuti was stunned. Her head poked out from behind Lin Yi's back. Then, she was also stunned. Her eyes flickered with incomparable excitement. She muttered excitedly, "Thunder Mystic Vine. This is the Thunder Mystic Vine." There was indeed no path ahead of the two of them. There was only an extremely precipitous cliff. However, on top of this cliff, there were several strangely shaped vines. In addition to being slightly thicker than ordinary vines, the most prominent feature was that its surface flashed with electric arcs from time to time. Without a doubt, this was the Thunder Mysterious Vine. Lin Yi's eyes couldn't help but light up after he counted them. There were actually 5 Thunder Mystic Vines in this place. However, 2 of them had been cut down at some unknown time. Only 2 roots of different lengths were left. The remaining 3 Thunder Mystic Vines had different growth patterns. One of them was obviously very mature. Not only was its vine much thicker than the others, even the electric arcs that occasionally flashed across its surface were much more powerful and frequent. As for the remaining 2 Thunder Mystic Vines, they were relatively young. One of them was showing signs of maturing, while the other had just sprouted. Even the vines hadn't officially spread out yet. So the 5 Thunder Mystic Vines are alternating with each other. Lin Yi immediately understood. Looking at the situation, the 5 Thunder Mystic Vines' growth cycle just happened to stagger. In other words, it was basically guaranteed that there would be one Thunder Mystic Vine that just happened to mature in every trial. It seemed that these Thunder Mystic Vines weren't purely natural. Someone had carefully arranged them. As for the purpose, it was most likely to ensure the value of the Western Island trial. After all, the Thunder Mystic Vine was a heavenly treasure at the bottom of the box. If there was a break in the middle, the Western Island trial wouldn't be as famous as it was now. That's the one. Hurry up and chop it down. Huiyuti pointed at the fully matured lightning mystical vine and said excitedly. Cut it down? Lin Yi couldn't help but be stunned when he heard that. He asked curiously, "Why do you want to cut it down? Isn't it good to take it back with the roots? This can be taken back and planted, right?" Don't you know the rules of the cultivation world?" Huiyuti glanced at Lin Yi, and saw that he really didn't understand what she was talking about. She explained, "Always leave a way out, especially when it comes to treasures. If there's no special circumstances, you can't cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. After all, what you've encountered is your own destiny, but you can't deprive other practitioners of their destiny because of it. You have to know that if you go too far, your destiny will come to an end." "Oh, I've learned." Lin Yi nodded humbly. He really didn't expect that the Heaven Stage Island would actually have this kind of established rule. It seemed that in the cultivation world, other than deception, there were rules that didn't follow. Greed was human nature. If there weren't such rules, all the heavenly treasures on the Heaven Stage Island would have been dug up long ago. Leaving a way out for others was equivalent to leaving a way out for oneself. However, since this kind of rule was established, it meant that it wasn't mandatory. Apart from disciples like Huiyuti who came from the East Province Academy or famous sects, others might not necessarily follow the rules. It's the second day of the School Bells TV series. I heard that the response is very good, and it's super good. Everyone, go to Aichi. Murloc's public prestige, Urine 22, to be continued, div. Chapter 6005. Since the surprise attack was most likely a smokescreen, Lin Yi made a bold guess. Even if there were more similar incidents, there would not be too many. Now that everyone had returned to their base, it would be difficult to have too much of an impact. The military force of the City Guards institution was enough to control the situation. Lin Yi did not think that he should be tied up here. He had to find out the real purpose of the mastermind. In a pavilion, Zheng Tianqing proudly played with a jade bottle in his hand. This was the last hallucinogenic potion. He had deliberately left it unused. There was not much difference between 5 and 6. The impact it had caused had far exceeded Zheng Tianqing's initial expectations. Hee, I am indeed a genius. Should I give the last one to Lin Yi's minions? Zheng Tianqing was very tempted by this idea, but he still did not dare to cause trouble for Lin Yi. There were no powerful masters among the people of 5 Elements Commerce this time. Even if they were under the influence of the hallucinogenic potion, they would not be able to cause too much damage. They might even be subdued as soon as the hallucinogenic potion took effect. Even if they could kill 1 or 2 minions, it would not hurt Lin Yi at all. If the matter was exposed, with Lin Yi's protective personality, he might directly destroy the Zheng family. Forget it, forget it. If I can't kill Lin Yi, there is no point in dealing with those minions. I'd better go find Yu Ziqing and see what this guy is up to. This young master has created such a good opportunity for him. If he still fails, then he really is a waste. Zheng Tianqing convinced himself to give up the idea, put away the jade bottle, and left the pavilion. Although there were northern guards everywhere, Zheng Tianqing did not care at all. When he walked on the street, he was Zheng Tianqing, a distinguished guest of the extreme North Island. The northern guards would not do anything to him. If Lin Yi saw Zheng Tianqing, he might have some doubts. But now Lin Yi had left the area and quickly rushed to the northern beach. After careful consideration just now, Lin Yi suddenly thought that if the sea beasts wanted to attack the extreme North Island, then the restriction against the sea beasts would definitely be the first thing to be broken. There was no doubt that the previous loosening of the restriction was done by the mastermind or his accomplice. Since the restriction could be loosened, then it was most likely that they could also make the restriction ineffective. It was just that they didn't have the time to do so. Today, they had made such a big scene. Most likely, it was time to reveal the dagger. Thinking about this, Lin Yi estimated that the real goal of these guys should be to destroy the array base of the restriction formation of the extreme North Island. Usually, each city guard station had its own area to guard. Due to the continuous battles in the prosperous area, the northern garrison had been mobilized abnormally, which weakened the guards in many areas. It was the best time for them to take action. Lin Yi had asked Li Ziyu where the array base of the restriction formation of the extreme North Island was. Li Ziyu did not hide it. He gave a rough explanation. Although he did not tell Lin Yi everything, there must be one on each beach. However, the array base on the beach was guarded by a team of the northern garrison, and it was protected by a formation above level 7. Usually, no one could get close, so Li Ziyu was not worried that it would be leaked. In fact, the people on the extreme North Island basically knew about the array base on the beach. It was not a secret. Because of this, Lin Yi rushed to the northern beach in a hurry. If there was a place where the mastermind could easily destroy, it was definitely the array base on the northern beach. Why did the northern garrison station have an underground passage leading to the beach? Because the traitor had been planning to destroy the array base for a long time. Maybe it was not the array base that had loosened the restriction formation, but the first one to be destroyed must be the array base on the northern beach. Reality proved that his intuition was quite accurate. By the time he got to the northern beach, the North Guard squad that was stationed there had been 25 people, and they were all slaughtered. They didn't even have time to sound the alarm. The array base, which was usually protected by the concealment, defense, and attack formations, had been completely exposed. The level 7 formations were already broken, and the 3 of them were attacking the formation bases. If it weren't for the fact that these formations were passed down from the ancient times, they would have already succeeded by the time Lin Yi arrived. "Yu Ziqing, you're courting death," Lin Yi shouted. A lightning arc flashed, and he appeared behind the 3 people in an instant. In addition to Yu Ziqing and Aunt Lan, the other person was really a strong man in the form of a spiritual beast. Lin Yi's previous suspicion was right. There was something wrong with this guy. Yu Ziqing was a little scared when he heard Lin Yi's voice. He had finally broken the protective formation according to the instructions of the deep male voice. He had just started to attack the array base when Lin Yi, the god of plague, arrived. Now that his identity had been seen through by Lin Yi, if he could not successfully overthrow the extreme North Island, Night Moon City would definitely be regarded as a mortal enemy by the extreme Northly family. "Wind Tiger, Aunt Lan, kill him. Don't let this guy call for help," Yu Ziqing screamed. He did not know whether he was afraid of Lin Yi or afraid that he would call for help to hinder the plan. Aunt Lan knew the seriousness of the matter. Without a word, she turned around and attacked Lin Yi. The spiritual beast called Wind Tiger hesitated. After all, his main task was to destroy the array base, not to kill Lin Yi. But when he thought about how he'd been chased by Lin Yi, and how he'd exposed the underground tunnel, causing the spy in the North Guard station to be monitored, he couldn't help but get angry. If it weren't for this guy, with the help of the spy, this formation would have been easily destroyed. With this thought, Wind Tiger no longer refused Yu Ziqing. He roared and cooperated with Aunt Lan to deal with Lin Yi. Yu Ziqing wanted to take this opportunity to escape, but he had no other choice. He could only brace himself and continue to attack the base of the ancient array. Unfortunately, his original infant stage strength was too weak, and he could not even shake the base of the ancient array. It would be an exaggeration to say that his destructive power was better than nothing. Lin Yi humphed coldly and pointed his finger. A few lightning bolts as thick as a bucket rained down from the sky. It was a shocking scene. No matter where you were in the extreme North Island, you would be able to see this scene clearly. Moreover, the power of these lightning bolts was a bit stronger than the mysterious ascending stage's thunder tribulation. It was more than enough to deal with an opponent of the mountain opening stage. Chapter 6006. If it wasn't for the fact that he was worried about destroying the formation's base, his 1,000 lightning explosions or lightning burial would have been more suited to end the battle quickly. Aunt Lan did not expect Lin Yi's attack to be so strange and amazing. She was caught off guard and was directly struck by the lightning. However, she did not die on the spot due to her strength. She just looked extremely embarrassed. It was estimated that she would be completely finished after a few more lightning strikes. As for Wind Tiger, his speed was really amazing. Lin Yi's sudden attack was able to avoid most of it at the last moment and only grazed the edge. He was much better than Aunt Lan. "Your strength is not bad. Unfortunately, you have done something you shouldn't have. Today, this will be your burial place." Lin Yi's cold voice sounded in their ears at the same time. 2 5 elements murderous auras struck at the vital points between their eyebrows. Aunt Lan was shocked. She knew that Lin Yi was very powerful. Otherwise, he would not have been able to kill Uncle O and Uncle Li. However, she had underestimated Lin Yi. With this kind of strength, if she hadn't been on guard, she would have been instantly killed by Lin Yi. Now facing Lin Yi's attack, she could only use all her strength to defend, and couldn't find the time to counterattack. Wind Tiger's situation was slightly better. He created a strong whirlpool of wind in front of him and completely wrapped Lin Yi's murderous aura in it. It constantly tore and weakened its destructive power. Strictly speaking, the wind element could restrain Qi transformation martial arts skills. Therefore, Lin Yi's 5 elements murderous aura could not advance at all under Wind Tiger's defense. Instead, it gradually dissipated. However, Lin Yi did not care. In order to avoid being besieged like last time, he decided to kill Aunt Lan with all his strength. The thunder evasion could teleport Lin Yi to any place he wanted. The aftermath of the thick lightning arcs had not dissipated yet. At this moment, Lin Yi was like a fish in water. Aunt Lan was desperately resisting the frontal attack. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi appeared behind her. Another lightning arc pierced out with an extremely explosive momentum. At this moment, Aunt Lan had no defense at all. If she faced Lin Yi alone, she could only wait for death. Fortunately, she had a more reliable companion, the Wind Tiger. Although it was only a spirit beast, it clearly understood the concept of interdependence. It knew that if Lin Yi killed Aunt Lan, it would not have an easy time either. Previously, it was able to escape from Lin Yi's pursuit because Lin Yi did not use the thunder evasion. Now that it had seen Lin Yi's thunder evasion, the Wind Tiger no longer had any thoughts of escaping. Among all the evasion techniques in the world, the thunder evasion was worthy of being the king of speed. At the very least, based on its experience, there was no other martial arts skill that could surpass the thunder evasion. The Wind Tiger had the wind evasion, which was slightly inferior to the thunder evasion. It might not be enough to escape, but it was barely enough to save Aunt Lan at such a close distance. A wind shield suddenly appeared behind Aunt Lan, blocking the lightning arc for a moment. Taking advantage of this moment, the Wind Tiger swept up Aunt Lan and escaped from Lin Yi's attack. At the same time, it released countless thin shadowless wind blades, using offense as defense to cut off Lin Yi's path of pursuit. Lin Yi sneered. If the thunder evasion could be blocked so easily, could it still be called the #1 evasion technique in the world? A strange lightning arc twisted twice and went around the edge of the wind blades, catching up to the Wind Tiger and Aunt Lan in an instant. You like to fan yourself. Don't you know that I actually like to light a fire? Lin Yi said with a smile. He no longer attacked with the lightning attribute, but with the fire attribute. Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. With a whoosh, the fire chi in Lin Yi's palm borrowed the wind power from the Wind Tiger's body and exploded like a prairie fire. The sudden and light explosion sound was endless. The Wind Tiger did not expect Lin Yi to change his attack so quickly and strangely. Caught off guard, he was directly burned full of holes. Moreover, many of the holes were caused by his own origin energy. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, the Wind Tiger turned around and ran. If it was not for the fact that his spiritual beast body was extremely strong, he might have been killed. If he did not run now, he would be courting death. He knew that his wind evasion could not outrun Lin Yi's thunder evasion. However, as long as someone could resist for a few breaths of time, there was still a chance for them to escape successfully. As for the people to resist, it was obviously Aunt Lan and Yu Ziqing, his two close comrades. Previously, the Wind Tiger saved Aunt Lan in order to fight against Lin Yi. However, now that he realized that there was no hope of fighting against him, he instantly decided to abandon Aunt Lan. Not only that, he coldly pushed Aunt Lan towards Lin Yi to fight for a chance of survival for himself. As a spiritual beast, the strong preyed on the weak was their instinct. Moreover, when escaping, one of the rules was to be faster than their companions. The moment Aunt Lan left his hand, the Wind Tiger forcefully circulated his chi and performed the wind evasion with a strength that exceeded his limits. In the blink of an eye, he had escaped tens of meters away. Lin Yi did not care about the Wind Tiger. He casually injured Aunt Lan and prepared to interrogate her. He then condensed a thick lightning arc and threw it directly at Yu Ziqing's back. This guy's attack didn't have much of an effect on the formation base, but Lin Yi didn't dare to be careless. If something were to happen and he really did destroy the formation base, who knew if all the seals on the island would collapse? The lightning arc pierced through Yu Ziqing's back and nailed him to the beach. The heavily injured Aunt Lan let out a sad cry. However, there was nothing she could do about Yu Ziqing's death. Lin Yi grabbed Aunt Lan from the ground and wanted to chase after the Wind Tiger. However, when he saw that a lot of the formation had been destroyed, he immediately hesitated. If someone else came and continued to destroy the formation while he was away, wouldn't it be bad? From the beginning of the battle to the Wind Tiger's escape and Yu Ziqing's death, less than half an incense stick's time had passed. Even if Lin Yi's lightning arcs, which were comparable to lightning tribulations, could attract the attention of Li Ziyu and the others, they would not be able to rush over to protect the formation in such a short amount of time. That damned Wind Tiger had obviously taken these factors into consideration. That was why it had escaped so decisively. It also knew that Lin Yi would definitely wait for reinforcements to arrive before chasing after it. Before that, there were opportunities for it to escape. If Lin Yi really started to chase after it, it would basically be dead meat. Lin Yi wanted to use his divine sense to lock onto the Wind Tiger and then chase after it. However, after the Wind Tiger used the wind evasion, his divine sense could not lock onto it at all. In the blink of an eye, he had completely lost track of the Wind Tiger. Chapter 6007. What do I ask you? If you answer me properly, I might consider letting you live. Lin Yi looked down at Aunt Lan and said coldly. Aunt Lan smiled miserably, looking as if she had nothing left to live for. Just kill me. You've already killed the young city lord, so it's hard for me to escape death. For someone who's determined to die, what's there to fear? You can choose not to cooperate, but if you think death is the scariest thing, then you're too naive. Don't you know there's a soul-searching technique in this world? Lin Yi smiled mockingly. He didn't believe that Aunt Lan, an expert at the mountain opening stage, didn't even know about the soul-searching technique. It was precisely because the mountain opening period placed more emphasis on the cultivation of the primordial spirit and divine sense that the soul-searching art was more threatening. Once one's soul was searched, the pain that was worse than death was not something an ordinary person could endure. Therefore, when Aunt Lan heard this, her eyes revealed extreme fear. If you doubt the authenticity of my words, I don't mind demonstrating it to you. Of course, once it starts, it's not something I can control. I'll most likely destroy your primordial spirit. Lin Yi smiled faintly. However, to the terrified Aunt Lan, it was simply the smile of a devil. She didn't know why, but Aunt Lan was sure that Lin Yi wasn't joking. He would really use a cruel method like the soul-searching technique. In fact, Lin Yi really knew how to use it. However, he didn't want to use it because it was similar to devouring the primordial spirit. There would be a lot of memories and information that didn't belong to him. It would be messy, and it would take a lot of effort to get rid of it. Therefore, most of the time, he used the soul-searching technique as a tool to scare people. If she could, Aunt Lan would definitely choose to kill herself. Unfortunately, her life and death were in Lin Yi's hands. It was not up to her to choose. Moreover, the soul-searching technique didn't require her body to be alive. As long as her primordial spirit was still alive, she could still use it. Ask whatever you want. Once you're done, give me a quick death. Aunt Lan sighed. She knew that she couldn't do it, so she didn't continue to be stubborn. Very well, as long as your answer satisfies me, I can agree to your request. Lin Yi readily agreed to Aunt Lan's request. It was just a small matter, not a big deal. First, tell me why you want to destroy the formation base of the extreme North Island. We have an agreement with the South Island Auction Association to introduce them to the unstable people of the extreme North Island. As long as we can do this, we will lead the sea beasts to besiege the extreme North Island and ruin the reputation of the extreme North Island so that no one dares to come in the future. Since she had agreed, Aunt Lan did not want to hide anything. She simply told him everything. The South Island Auction Association reached an agreement to attack the northernmost island by communicating with the sea beasts through the spirit beasts. It is said that they were also preparing to hold a top auction, but the auction in the northernmost island stole their limelight. That's why they made this decision. Once it's done, there will be no northernmost island in the future. Just for an auction? That's impossible, isn't it? Lin Yi's face was full of doubt. The South Island and the northernmost island were separated by thousands of miles. Was it really necessary to make such a big deal out of a mere auction competition? They established a relationship with the spirit beasts, communicated with the sea beasts, and even found the East Continent's Night Moon City just for an auction? Are they stupid or are they sick? I'm not sure about that. That's all I know. Aunt Lon shrugged expressionlessly, but it affected her wound, and she couldn't help but spit out some more blood. Because of that damned wind tiger, the tunnels of the city guards institution were exposed, and the spy we introduced to them was also being monitored. That's why those fellows forced the young city lord to personally destroy the formation base, and then you came. Who is the spy? Is there only one or several of them? Lin Yi was very concerned about this. It was a good opportunity to help Li Ziyu get rid of the spy. Aunt Lon gave a name to Lin Yi. Anyway, it was someone he did not know. He could ask Li Ziyu to find out later. This is the person we introduced. As for whether he has other accomplices, I'm not sure. You'll have to investigate this yourself. Aunt Lon was determined to reveal everything. Since they were going to die, everyone would die together. Since Wind Tiger could betray them, no one would have an easy time. In addition, I can also tell you that there is a powerful organization behind the South Island Auction Association. It is said that this organization is very powerful. In their eyes, our Night Moon City is nothing. Lin Yi's mind flashed like lightning. He really did not know much about the South Island Auction Association. But if there was an organization behind them, he had a rough idea of what was going on. The center. Only the center had the ability to control such a huge plan. Moreover, the center's plan for the South Island might have started from the South Island Auction Association. If they could reach a cooperative relationship with the spirit beasts now, then the plan for the South Island seemed to be going quite smoothly. Lin Yi had a headache about this. He could not handle so many things by himself. It seemed that while improving his strength, he had to train his subordinates more. He wanted them to grow up as soon as possible so that they could be independent. Otherwise, running around all day would tire him to death. How could he even talk about dealing with the center? At this moment, Lin Yi had a feeling of sudden enlightenment. It was as if the fog that had been covering his eyes suddenly disappeared. Everything had a reasonable explanation, and all the clues were connected. Aunt Lon opened her mouth. She wanted to say Enchanting, but she changed her mind when the words were on the tip of her tongue. Although that guy was not a good person, and Aunt Lon did not need to protect him, she thought that Yu Ziqing died in the hands of Lin Yi, and Zheng Tianqing and Lin Yi were obviously enemies. Maybe if she kept him alive, he could help them take revenge in the future. Anyway, he was just a small character, and Lin Yi might not care. So, she would hide it for the time being. If she was asked, it would not be too late to tell her. I've told you everything I know. Can you give me a quick death now? Aunt Lon looked at Lin Yi expressionlessly. She had already made up her mind to die. She did not even bother to beg for mercy. Chapter 6008. Since you are so cooperative, I can consider sparing your life. If you can work for me, it will be even better. Lin Yi had a lot of experience dealing with the core. Instigating the other side was a good way to deal with it. For example, Brother De Feng in the early days, Chen Dongqing later, etc., were all very successful examples, and they did help a lot. If Aunt Lon, an expert in the mountain opening period, could change sides, it would undoubtedly be more useful to Lin Yi. Unfortunately, Aunt Lon had already made up her mind to die. She only smiled faintly at the offer and rejected it without hesitation. I don't need your life, and I won't help you with anything. Since I can't protect the young master, dying with him is the best choice. As long as you keep your promise and give me a quick death, that's fine. You must have gone through a lot of hardships to reach the mountain opening stage. Is it really worth it to give up your life for someone else? Lin Yi could not help but feel a little strange. This ant lawn was really different. A normal cultivator, the stronger they were, the more they cherished their life. However, she was willing to die for Yu Ziqing. He did not know whether she was loyal or stupid. Whether it is worth it or not is up to me, it has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to do it yourself, let me kill myself. Aunt Lan felt a little sad. As a leader of the mountain opening period, she wanted to die, but she could not do it. It was really meaningless to continue living. I didn't expect you to be such a loyal person. Since you want to die, I can only fulfill your wish. Lin Yi sighed. He flicked his finger, and a strand of genuine qi shot out, killing the defenseless Aunt Lan on the spot. Then, he watched her spirit slowly disappear. Lin Yi sighed. If the situation on the extreme North Island was not so complicated, and she wanted to die, it was not impossible to spare her life. Now, he could only fulfill her last wish. In the distance, a large group of North Guards was rushing over. Lin Yi was relieved. Although the base of the formation was damaged, at least it wasn't completely destroyed. The seal of the extreme North Island wouldn't collapse just like that. Judging from the result, it wasn't too bad. Before the Northern Guard showed up, Lin Yi looted Yu Ziqing's belongings. Yu Ziqing was also a rich man. His loot was no less than Qian Xiaodong's. Lin Yi even felt that his alchemy was nothing compared to Qian Xiaodong's. It would be better to rob someone like Yu Ziqing. Master Lin. When the leader of the northern garrison saw the broken formations and the exposed formation bases, his face turned pale. After greeting Lin Yi respectfully, he could not help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. It was all thanks to Lin Yi's help. Otherwise, if something happened to the formation base, it would be hard to say what kind of trouble the extreme North Island would face. Inform the higher-ups immediately to send more people to protect the formation base here. At the same time, find a formation master to repair the formation here. If anyone suspicious wants to come close, kill them without mercy. Lin Yi did not talk nonsense with them. He directly gave the order. Then, he left the defense here to them and chased after the Wind Tiger. As for Yu Ziqing's and Aunt Lan's bodies, Lin Yi also told them to bury them properly. Although it was too late to catch up with the spirit beast, they might be able to find some clues if they followed the direction. Languza. After chasing for a while, Lin Yi unexpectedly sensed Languza's aura. At the same time, there was a violent battle. He used his divine sense to sweep in that direction and found that Languza was fighting with someone. His opponent was the burly man in the form of the Wind Tiger. Good lad, well done. This was really a pleasant surprise. Lin Yi could not help but praise this guy. He thought that Languza would stay on the ancient warship. He did not expect that he would suddenly appear here and block the Wind Tiger. As the lightning arcs flashed, Lin Yi slightly changed his direction and rushed to the place where Languza and the Wind Tiger were fighting. This time, he must not let this guy slip away again. The Wind Tiger also noticed Lin Yi's approach, but he couldn't break free from Languza's entanglement. This blue-blonde bastard was clearly weaker than him in terms of strength and speed, but he just had to appear out of nowhere and pester him. He'd somehow managed to hold him back just like that. Boss, don't interfere. Let me take care of this damn spirit beast. Languza shouted and stopped Lin Yi from making a move. It was rare for him to have such an enjoyable fight. He did not want his boss to completely ruin his fun. Coincidentally, Languza did follow Lin Yi's instructions and went to the ancient warship to look for Okuda Dam. He was going to stay on the warship to help. However, his divine sense suddenly sensed the aura of the spirit beast from last time. How could he sit still? He immediately restrained his aura and sneaked over. This guy also knew that he was not fast enough, so he made a sudden attack. As soon as he arrived, he engaged in close combat with the Wind Tiger. He would rather be hit once or twice than give the Wind Tiger a chance to pull away. In the beginning, the Wind Tiger did not take Languza seriously at all. He wanted to use his strength to crush Languza and finish the battle in an instant before leaving. However, even when Lin Yi caught up, he still could not defeat Languza. Even if he wanted to escape, there was almost no chance. It was not impossible to forcefully break away from the battle, but Languza's reckless attacks made the Wind Tiger extremely fearful. Without paying a certain price, there was no way he could do this. Once he was injured, it was hard to say whether he could still escape. Lin Yi originally wanted to finish the battle quickly. Since Languza was so interested, he might as well treat it as training for him. Just now, he was thinking that he could not rely on himself to deal with the center. It was also very important to cultivate the abilities of his subordinates. He would start with Languza. Then you should give him a good beating. If you can't beat him, don't expect me to give you a chance to fight in the future. Lin Yi smiled faintly, deliberately provoking Languza. Other than eating, this guy liked to fight. Once he heard that he could not beat the Wind Tiger and would not have a chance to fight in the future, he immediately became 100 times more spirited. Smelly spirit beast, die. Languza roared and his aura increased again. Although his strength was not as high as the Wind Tiger's, his fighting strength was not inferior at all. As expected, the variant sea dragon was not that simple. With the Wind Tiger as a comparison, Languza's strength could be more reflected. Chapter 6009. Now this was the real battle between dragons and tigers. It was absolutely exciting and intense. Wind Tiger saw that Lin Yi really didn't want to make a move, so he immediately felt relieved. He was ready to kill Languza first. At this moment, there was a sudden roar in the distant northern sea. At the same time, it was accompanied by monstrous waves, crazily surging towards the extreme North Island. Although he could only vaguely see a small waterline here, Lin Yi's divine sense could completely feel that the huge waves contained a powerful force. The alarm of the extreme North Island suddenly exploded. Lin Yi's face suddenly became gloomy. He knew that he was too careless. Although the array base on the northern beach was not destroyed, the previous damage had greatly weakened the restriction in that direction. If there were no accidents, these small cracks would be repaired very quickly. However, he neglected the fact that since the center was the one who pushed this matter behind the scenes, how could there not be any backup arrangements? Before, there were already sea beasts above the profound ascending stage swimming in the safe sea area of the enchantment. Now that the array base was already unstable, the sea beasts in the distant sea had probably already gathered and were waiting for the enchantment to be broken before attacking the extreme North Island. Because of the appearance of Lin Yi, the action of destroying the array base only carried out a small part before it stopped. The roar just now should be the gathering sea beasts found that the enchantment was no longer changing, so they simply concentrated their strength to attack the place where the enchantment was loosened. Looking at the scale of the huge waves, perhaps at least part of their goal had been achieved. Damn! Languza, there is no time for you to play. Lin Yi couldn't help but curse. He appeared in the middle of the battle between Wind Tiger and Languza as if he teleported, and directly blasted out a mad fire 8 trigram palm. The violent flames swept over, but Wind Tiger was not surprised. Instead, he was happy. He actually borrowed the force to fly out. Although he would inevitably suffer some minor injuries, it was much more cost-effective than taking the attack of the madman Languza. Wind Tiger naturally noticed the changes in the northern sea. He knew that this was his best time to escape. At this time, Lin Yi probably would not have the time to chase him. Therefore, as long as he left the battle here, he would have a great chance to get rid of these two troublesome guys. Wind escape skill. The Wind Tiger tried its best to use its ultimate move to escape, but nothing happened. Lin Yi didn't know when, but a small flag appeared in Lin Yi's hand, and lines of light formed a light net, covering a large area. Sky Lock Flag. This was a treasure that Lin Yi took from Uncle O. It was originally used to defend against Wind Tiger's wind escape skill, but now it was used by Lin Yi. Even if Wind Tiger ran, Lin Yi could still catch up to him with his fastest speed, but the current situation was exactly as Wind Tiger had predicted. Lin Yi didn't have the time to waste with him, and the best way was to not give him the chance to run. Within the range of the Skylock flag, Lin Yi's wind escape skill was also restricted. However, he still had the extreme butterfly subtle steps. With a slight shake of his body, he had already come to Wind Tiger's side. Because of the sudden failure of wind escape skill, Wind Tiger was stunned for a moment. It was at this moment that Lin Yi had already appeared behind him. The 5 elements murderous chi was easily injected into Wind Tiger's body, wantonly destroying the meridians in his body. The next moment, Wind Tiger was completely paralyzed on the ground, losing all the ability to move. Languza, hand this guy over to Li Ziyu. I will go to the ancient warship first. Lin Yi had no time to say more. He simply gave a sentence and disappeared into the distance in a flash of lightning. Languza opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he could not find Lin Yi. He could only reluctantly pick up the seriously injured Wind Tiger and hand him over to Li Ziyu. At the dock, the ancient warship was setting sail. The message that Lin Yi had sent to Okuda Dam was to prepare for battle and to enter the battlefield at any time. Now that there was a change in the Northern Sea, according to the agreement with the extreme North Island, he had to help. Lin Yi used the lightning escape skill to hurry. His speed was not much different from teleportation. In just 2 breaths, he had arrived at the dock. With another flash, he had already appeared on the ancient warship. If it was someone else, it would be impossible to board the warship after it set sail because the defense layer would block anyone who tried to board the warship. However, Lin Yi was the honorary vice captain. The defense layer was ineffective against him, so he could pass through it easily. Vice Captain Lin. Seeing Lin Yi suddenly appear on the deck, many crew members bowed and then continued to do their work in an orderly manner. They seemed to be quite well trained. Lin Yi could not respond to them one by one. He could only nod casually and then continue to rush towards the bridge. Okuda Dam should be there now. Brother Okuda, increase the speed to the limit. The restriction of the Northern Sea has loosened. I am afraid that a large number of sea monsters will rush in. We must buy time for the extreme North Island to repair the array foundation. Lin Yi, who rushed into the bridge, saw Okuda Dam. He immediately said everything in one breath. Only then did he have a chance to catch his breath. Brother Lin, I have already started to increase the speed. However, the situation this time is a bit tricky. I am afraid that our ancient warship cannot stop the sea monsters for long. Okuda Dam's expression was cold. When he saw Lin Yi coming over, he could only force a smile. Brother Okuda, we have even seen the sea monster tide controlled by the sea dragon. What else can be difficult for us? Lin Yi smiled faintly, showing his strong confidence. He had no other choice. If Okuda Dam lost confidence, the restriction of the extreme North Island might really not be able to hold on. The situation of breaking the surface was suitable for war, and it was also suitable for restriction. In any case, Lin Yi's positive attitude still influenced the people on the ancient warship. Brother Lin is right. I, Okuda Dam, am a man who will conquer all the seas. How can I be scared by these sea monsters? Okuda Ba laughed heartily. His previous dignified expression was swept away, and his previous arrogant demeanor was revealed between his brows. Brother Okuda, let us brothers join hands again and fight against those damn sea monsters. Lin Yi was heroic. He reached out his hand and high-fived Okuda Dam. However, both of them knew that this battle would definitely be much more difficult than the last time. In the last sea monster tide, there were only a few sea monsters at the mountain opening stage. However, this time, just the vanguard already had close to 10 sea monsters at the mountain opening stage. One could imagine how many powerful sea monsters would appear when the real attack was launched. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.